think. Testing. Smiling for the algorithm. After the armies. Hey KP. Hey Clutch. Late night shift just got a little better. That's, you know what, Clutch? That's the reason I went live. I was like, you know what? I bet Clutch could use some entertainment on his late night shift. When I said that? Let's go. I knew it. All right, we're gonna get started in 2 minutes and 53 seconds. How is everyone doing? Wait, community night? When? Today? Did we vote? What was the vote? Oh, it was the game night, right? I think it's Wednesday. So it's not a live about the new Whopper? There's a new Whopper? Bro, what do I have to work tonight? It's okay, Whitney. It'll be on YouTube. I might not be reacting that much anyway, because I'm gonna be doing like day job stuff, but at night. There's like, okay, so you guys can't see it, but it's me, and then if I go to look at Mac, there's just Tuffy is just right between us. Like she's just she wants to jump on my lap so badly. What about the new McDonald's burger, the Golden Arch? Oh, I heard about that. It's not. Nothing about it seemed interesting enough to go to McDonald's. Oh, okay. Well, Dan, I have a real question. Are you nocturnal like your cats? It varies. Hey Dan, is Walker still around? Yes, Walker is around. He's been vaccinated. He's been deballed, and he is no longer limping. Did you see the CEO of McDonald's take a bite? I did not see that. Okay, we're gonna get started right now, or well, in 51 seconds. Hey Sid. Man, where's the YouTube people at? I see tequila and moonshine, and then that's it. Where's everybody on YouTube? Hey Neely. I will say I don't know how much is left of Matt's live, but that's what I would be watching. Like if I had the choice between Dan reacting to some old people answering questions from some other old people, I would rather watch Matt and Nemo and Erica. But I figure that's probably gonna end soon. Hey Stinky Brain. Okay, 8 seconds. Here we go. If you're not here, you're not here. It is what it is. I am gonna move the like counter. It's a little bit large. I just came from there. No, the Hillary testimony was fire. Should we skip the bill test? I didn't see any of either. I haven't even seen clips. I'm going into this completely not knowing anything. Same, Dan? Okay. Hillary was way better. Oh, well, of course Hillary's is going to be better, right? Hillary's going to be better for several reasons. Reason number one, I don't trust that Bill Clinton isn't implicated, but I do trust that Hillary isn't. So that's number one. Number two, she's a fucking badass, like Mac just said, and can hold her own in questioning like this. Speaking of Hillary, by the way, okay, so 4 service members die in Benghazi, and there's like 13 investigations into Hillary, and she sits for a deposition for like 12 hours or whatever. We're now up to 6 confirmed dead service members from because of Trump's invasion in Iran. You think Trump's going to sit for a 12-hour deposition? I'm just curious. Okay, we're going to start. Here we go. Gluck.
Deposition before the House Oversight Committee last week. It was released just
Can he
a
even
few
sit that
months
long?
ago.
Not without shitting his pants.
Into convicted
How's the volume,
Jeffrey
chat?
Epstein. Here is the former president's testimony as provided to us here on C-SPAN.
Good. A little loud.
All right, we will go on the record. This is a deposition of former President William Jefferson Clinton conducted by the House Committee on Oversight and Government.
I have it on 1.2x. I don't know if we're gonna finish it tonight. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing, and wow, he is so. That's Neely. That's what I said when I saw him. He is. You know what's? You want to hear something crazy? The past every president that's alive right now that's not named Barack Obama is all the same age. Over the course of like several decades, we just keep doing it. It's like, to be president, you need to be 80. That's the move. What? All born in the 40s. Yeah, like, can we get somebody who, like, their actions are going to affect their lives at all? Like Bill's going to see what? The next couple of years? Trump might see the next couple of hours? Like, what are we doing? Why is MAGA and Republicans protecting Trump? I don't even... Yes. Okay, we're starting. Here we go.
Reform under the authority granted to it pursuant to House Rule 10. Accordingly, House Rule 10 grants the committee broad jurisdiction for the committee to conduct investigations of any matter at any time. On July 23rd, 2025, the Subcommittee on Federal Law Enforcement of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform voted by voice to approve a motion directing the chairman to authorize and issue a subpoena to you for a deposition. On August 5th, 2025, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for President Clinton to appear today for a deposition in furtherance of the committee's investigation into the actions and investigations of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell. I will now enter the original subpoena and corresponding cover letter from August 5th, 2025, as well as the additional subpoena from December 15th, 2025, determining a new date as Exhibit 1. I will enter as Exhibit 2 the correspondence between Chairman Comer and counsel for President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. This correspondence includes the following letters. October 6, 2025, letter from David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer and Ranking Member Garcia. October 22nd, 2025, letter from Chairman Comer to David E. Kendall. November 3rd, 2025, letter from David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer and Ranking Member Garcia. November 21st, 2025, letter from Chairman Comer to David E. Kendall. December 10th, 2025, letter from David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer and Ranking Member Garcia. December 15th, 2025, letter from Chairman Comer to David E. Kendall. January 3rd, 2026, letter from David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer and Ranking Member Garcia. January 8th, 2026, letter from Chairman Comer to David E. Kendall. January 12th, 2026, letter from Ashley Cowan and David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer. January 20th, 2026, letter from Ashley Cowan and David E. Kendall to Chairman Comer.
Maybe we skip around.
January 31st. I will mark as Exhibit 4 the notice dated December 16th, 2025 for a deposition of President Clinton to occur on January 13th, 2026. President Clinton did not appear for his deposition on January 13th, 2026. I will enter as Exhibit 5 the transcript for the deposition that President Clinton failed to appear for.
Okay.
The committee noticed a committee business meeting on January 14th, 2026 to consider the contempt report for President William J. Clinton held on January 21st, 2026. I will mark that notice as Exhibit 6. I will mark as Exhibit 7 the contempt report for President William J. Clinton voted favorably out of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform on January 21st, 2026. I will mark as Exhibit 8 the final roll call vote sheet on favorably reporting the contempt report of President William J. Clinton out of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform on January 21st, 2026. The committee noticed today's deposition on February 19th, 2026.
We're almost done.
I will enter the notice for this deposition as Exhibit 9. I will enter as Exhibit 10 the email thread between Committee on Oversight and Government Reform staff and counsel for President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. The email thread confirms the date, time, and location, among other terms, of today's deposition. Additionally, this email thread clearly states the agreed upon terms, including but not limited to video recording, no predetermined time limit, and scope. The agreed upon scope from the email marked as Exhibit 10 is as follows. Pursuant to the committee's investigation into the alleged mismanagement of the federal government's investigation into Mr. Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, the circumstances and subsequent investigations of Mr. Epstein's death, the operation of sex trafficking rings, and ways for the federal government to effectively combat them, ways in which Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell sought to curry favor and exercise influence to protect their illegal activities, and potential violations of ethics rules related to elected officials, the committee will ask President Clinton and Secretary Clinton all of its questions regarding Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, including, but not limited to, the personal relationships between the Clintons and Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, and the ways in which Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell sought to curry favor and exercise influence, as well as the operation of sex trafficking rings and ways for the federal government to effectively combat them without the proposed limitations on scope sought in your January 31st, 2026 letter. Can the witness please state his name for the record?
Finally.
William Jefferson Clinton.
Thank you. My
Barely.
name is Jack Emmer, and I am the Chief Counsel of
Barely got it
Investigations
out.
for Chairman Comer. Under the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform's rules, you are allowed to have counsel present to advise you during this deposition. Do you have counsel representing you in a personal capacity present with you today?
I do.
Will counsel please identify themselves for the record?
David Kendall, Williams and Connolly, LLP.
Catherine Turner, Williams and Connolly, LLP.
Cheryl Mills, counsel to the president.
Thank you. Starting with the majority, can members of Congress in attendance please identify themselves for the record?
Billy.
Go ahead, sir. Members, Congress. Yeah, James Comer, Chairman of the Committee from Kentucky.
Congresswoman Nancy Mace, South Carolina.
Eric Burleson from Missouri.
Congressman
Just a quick reminder for everybody. When Les Wexner was being questioned by the House Oversight Committee, Les Wexner, who was in the Epstein files as a co-conspirator and was redacted originally until Thomas Massey called them out on it, and they unredacted his name. He was in there as a co-conspirator. Zero House Republicans showed up to that questioning. Zero. So interesting that they all turned out for this. I don't know why they wouldn't. All of both parties should be there for all of this. One would think that we could agree about child sex trafficking. One would think.
John McGuire, Virginia 5.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna from Florida's 13th District.
William Timmons, South Carolina.
Glenn Grothman, Wisconsin.
Ranking Member Garcia, California.
Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, New Mexico.
Congressman Suhas Subramaniam, Virginia's 11th.
Congresswoman Emily Randall, Washington State.
Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari, Arizona's 3rd.
Congressman Maxwell Frost, Florida's 10th.
Congressman Wesley Bell, Missouri Southern District, St. Louis. James Walkinshaw, Virginia's 11th District.
Ro Khanna, California 17th.
Lauren Boebert, Colorado's 4th District.
Thank you. For the record, starting with the majority staff, can the additional staff members please introduce themselves with their name, title, and affiliation?
Billy Grant, Deputy Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman Comer.
Peter Spector, Deputy Director of Oversight for Chairman Comer.
Daniel Ashworth, General Counsel for Chairman Comer.
Ryan Giacchetti, Chief Counsel for Chairman Comer.
Will Harness, Professional Staff Member to Chairman Comer.
Hannah Cathy, Professional Staff Member for Chairman Comer.
Melvin Soto, Digital Director for Chairman Comer.
Olson Tellen, Counsel for Chairman Comer. Emily Feierabend, Counsel for Chairman Comer.
Mark Moran, Staff Director for Chairman Comer.
Austin Hacker, Communications Director, Chairman Comer.
Ashley Goodyear, Deputy Staff Director for Chairman Comer.
Thank you all. President Clinton, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they choose. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. The clock will stop if you need to confer with counsel, your counsel is speaking, and when members or staff are speaking during the opposing side's rounds of questions. We will alternate back and forth until there are no more questions. Do you understand?
Yes.
There is a court reporter taking down everything I say and everything you say to make a written record of the interview. For the record to be clear, please wait until the staffer questioning you finishes each question before you begin your answer, and the staffer will wait until you finish your response before proceeding to the next question. Further, to ensure the court reporter can properly record this deposition, please speak clearly, concisely, and slowly. Also, the court reporter cannot record nonverbal answers such as nodding or shaking your head, so it is important that you answer each question with an audible verbal answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Exhibits may be entered into the record. Majority exhibits will be identified numerically. Minority exhibits will be identified alphabetically. Do you understand?
Yes.
We want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful manner possible, so we will take our time. If you have any questions or do not fully understand the question, please let us know. We will attempt to clarify, add context to, or rephrase our questions. If we ask about specific conversations or events in the past and you are unable to recall the exact words or details, you should testify to the substance of those conversations or events to the best of your recollection. If you recall only a part of a conversation or event, you should give us your best recollection of those events or parts of conversations that you do recall. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are required by law to answer questions from Congress truthfully. This also applies to questions posed by congressional staff in this deposition. Do you understand?
Yes.
If at any time you knowingly make false statements, you could be subject to criminal prosecution, including but not limited to.
Hey, welcome in, Matt and Nemo Raiders. Welcome in, welcome in. Gwendolyn, really quick. Nobody is trying. I know in your head you don't get it, right? Because every accusation is a confession with you guys. So just to be clear, in your head, you're like, oh, they're trying to get him with the Epstein files, just like Bill, look at Joe Biden. His son was he did drugs, right? So he can't be president. We're not trying to get Donald Trump with the Epstein files. We're not trying to get anyone except the people who committed crimes. Now, you don't care because if you did, you would not support Trump. He was found simply liable for sexually assaulting someone. Right? Now, you don't care about that because you're going to defend him no matter what. It's not a matter of trying to get Donald Trump. Now, stop yelling because we don't care about Bill Clinton. If it turns out that Bill Clinton committed crimes with Epstein, Democrats will not back him like you. You will back him no matter what. No matter what. If he did it to your own children, you would back him. Okay? So eat shit and stop all capsing. Thank you. Welcome in, Matt and Nemo Raiders. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome in. Trump called to Palm Beach police in 2008 to tell them what he knew about Epstein. Gwendolyn, you want to know what's so fucking crazy about that? This is the worst evidence you have. You want to know why? Because their investigation started and then he called them. He didn't call them to snitch. No, he waited. They were already investigating him. And you know what he said? He said, thank you so much for investigating Epstein. And actually, make sure to investigate Ghislaine. She's the devil. He says that when they're already being investigated. That's exactly what you would say if you wanted to appear as if you were on the right side of things, right? If he actually cared, he would have reported him before they were already investigating him. That's number one. Number two, why would he call Ghislaine the devil? And then when she's arrested for child sex trafficking, he says, I wish her well. Eat shit forever. You will defend him no matter what. How are you sentient? You're a bot. If evidence comes out right now that Bill Clinton did something wrong, there's not a single Democrat except maybe Chelsea Clinton that'll back him. And even then, I'm not confident. Whereas Donald Trump, already there's evidence. He sexually assaulted someone. He sexually assaulted a woman. And you're here all capsing about Bill. Send them both into the sun, you Neanderthal.
Perjury. Do you understand?
Yes.
This includes both knowingly providing false testimony, but also stating that you do not recall or remember something when in fact you do. Do you understand?
Yes.
Furthermore, you cannot tell half-truths or exclude information necessary to make statements accurate. You are required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute a false statement. Do you understand?
I do.
Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview?
I don't believe so.
Please note that if you wish to assert a privilege over any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Pursuant to that, Committee Rule 16C1 states, for the chair to consider assertions of privilege over testimony or statements, witnesses or entities must clearly state the specific privilege being asserted and the reason for the assertion on or before the scheduled date.
Welcome again, Matt and
testimony
Nemo Raiders.
occurs.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you
For
so
the
much for
purposes
being
of
here.
this
Thank you so much.
deposition, objections must be
I figured I don't need to pause. They're
concisely
just
and in a
going over the rules.
non-argumentative or non-suggestive manner. If the witness refuses,
We could probably skip some of these rules.
If you need to understand what we discussed in the deposition ranking prior to the court report table.
It's the
Would you raise your hand, please? You're about to give only the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
okay.
Do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
I have a comment before we begin, please. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to start out by saying, as you know, yesterday there was a photo released, and I appreciate you assuring and admonishing the committee and all of us of our obligations. Obviously, we want to ensure that that doesn't happen again. We've obviously experienced a number of deep fakes that have now been circulating on the web, not because of anything that the committee did, but because of the release of this particular photograph. And for that reason, I would ask two things. One, a reminder to all that the obligation to maintain what is occurring in this room occurs. And two, a release of the video of the Secretary's testimony as soon as possible, ideally today, which was in 24 hours, and the same for the President, so that there are not deep fakes that are representing what is happening here when they actually have not.
Yeah, let me say, yesterday, that was an unfortunate situation. We had probably two things that shouldn't have happened. The release of the photo, as well as a Democrat member communicating with the New York Times. So I will again remind everyone to refrain from sending pictures or texting with media outlets outside. Melvin is our videographer, and we're getting he's doing this today as well as producing the video, so we'll get them out hopefully as soon as possible, hopefully within the next 24 hours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Nothing more.
Mr. President, do you wish to provide an opening statement?
I do. It's brief. First of all, good morning and welcome to all of you to our hometown. I appreciate you coming here. I'm here today basically for two reasons. First of all, I love my country and the Constitution, and I believe America was built on the idea that no one is above the law, especially presidents, and that we should all live by the same set of rules shaped by the Constitution. Democracy requires every person to play their part, and I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and search for the truth and justice, and that outweighs the partisan urge for spectacle and point scoring. I will do my part, and I hope you'll do yours. The second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both. Through my brief acquaintance with Jeffrey Epstein, though it ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication of what was going on, I'm here to offer what little I know so I can do my part to prevent something like this from happening again. I have to just say one personal thing. Since Hillary came in yesterday, she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing. There's a picture of us both shaking hands with him in a photo line in 1993 at a fundraiser for the White House Historical Association. I don't know how it is under President Trump, but when I was there, it was about the most non-political operation you can imagine. There were people who loved the White House, who were interested in it, would give a little money every year to do things that needed doing around the house. And nothing nearly as extravagant as the ballroom or any of that, just things that had to be done. And neither she nor I remembered shaking his hand all those years ago. So I don't think that was right. On the other hand, I do think you should be talking to me. I think you should have called me. I did take those plane trips with him. And you have a right to ask those questions. So I'm glad to be here. And
just to be clear, that the questioning of Hillary is the exact same amount of time as the questioning of Bill. Bill, there are several reasons why he should be questioned based on what we have in the Epstein files, the flight logs. Hillary's reasons, she's his wife. Like Hillary literally does not have anything to do with this other than that she's married to Bill Clinton. So I just want to put that out there. And again, reminder, Hillary went through like 13 investigations, including finally like a 12-hour deposition about Benghazi, where 4 American servicemen, I can't remember if there were any women, but 4 American service members died because of a terrorist attack at an embassy. Now Trump's actions literally lead to all of our military bases and embassies being attacked in the countries surrounding Iran. We have at least 6 dead service members that we know of. Who wants to put money on the fact that Donald Trump is not going to sit for a 12-hour deposition?
I understand what the oath is. I have to be honest with you. You know, I'll be 80 years old if I live to my next birthday. I don't remember everything that happened 24 years ago, but I do remember some things, and I will tell you what I remember as best I can. We, each of us, owe the victims nothing less than the truth and accuracy. We owe that to the American people. And I actually hope that you will be able to come up with some suggestions that will reduce human trafficking and especially focus on underage girls. I hope you'll be able to do that. I know that Hillary talked a little yesterday about what the State Department does and what she pushed on human trafficking and girls when she was Secretary of State. We had to deal with it. And in my foundation, I saw it in Nigeria when Boko Haram was rampaging through the north of Nigeria. And we were working there trying to stop deaths from diarrhea for young children. And it was interesting. These guys were cold and calculated. They said, oh, you don't have to leave because the kids you're helping are younger than the ones we want. They have to be about 9 before they're worth anything to us. So this is really important. And I will do what I can to make whatever contribution I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this is his opening statement.
The time reads 11:28, and the majority's time will begin now. Mr. President, thank you for agreeing to testify today and for your years of service to our country. I want to start from the beginning. When did you first meet Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, I will try in this testimony, and I will point it out when I'm aware there's a picture or something that predates it. There's a picture that shows him shaking hands in the White House Historical Association reception. That was in 1993, but I'm not aware of that. I first remember meeting him when I got on his airplane to take the first trip with my foundation in, I think, 2002, whenever it was. But
And to be clear, do you have any reason to believe that you may have met Mr. Epstein prior to becoming president of the United States?
Before I became president, no.
And you mentioned that your first memory of interacting with Mr. Epstein was on your first trip. Which trip specifically?
I'm not sure which one it was. Which one was the first? I took all or part of 4 or 5 trips to Asia and Africa and one to Northern Europe on Mr. Epstein's airplane. And once when I was in Florida, I was offered a ride back to New York, but I wasn't there it was just coincidental that he was there. And I think that was fairly early in the process, but I don't remember exactly. I just know that I did. I took one flight back from Florida to New York, and all are part of several other, I think 4 or 5 trips to Africa, Asia, and one to Northern Europe.
And I want to make sure the record is clear. Is it your testimony today that you have no independent recollection whatsoever of the circumstances of when you first met Mr. Epstein?
Objection asked and answered. You can answer again.
Yes, I do have a recollection of when I remember meeting him before this trip. I mean, on this trip when I took his plane.
Mr. President, we're going to discuss more specifics later, but for the record, can you briefly describe the nature and extent of your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Well, sometime after I left the White House, either in late 2001 or early-ish in 2002, I received a call from Larry Summers, who had been on my economic team and was later Secretary of Treasury and was then president of Harvard. And he said that he was calling because a man named Jeffrey Epstein, who had made a substantial commitment of several $1 million, I think it was 10, but whatever it was, to brain research. And that he was a information hungry person, and he wanted to spend some time talking to me about economics and politics. And he said, he's got this massive airplane, and he said he would take you, your staff, your Secret Service detail, and anybody else you wanted to bring on the trips that he knew I was planning to set up a global network to provide life-saving AIDS medicine to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. And I should back up and say, when I left office, we had done all the preliminary work to set up the global fund on AIDS, TB, and malaria, but it was not yet funded. So, and there were other instruments and institutions who were later founded, including President Bush's PEPFAR program. It had not yet been funded. There were only 200,000 people in the entire developing world who had AIDS medicine. Most of them in Brazil, which had a big drug operation on its own, and in Thailand, which also had its own drug population. In Africa, there were like 30,000 people or something, just next to no people. And they were dying like flies. And I thought we had found a way to drastically drive the price down. And that if we could drive the price down, we could, and empower people to administer the medicine right, we could save a lot of lives. And I was obsessed with it. And I was being helped by a man named Ira Magaziner, who had helped us in the White House, and whom I had known since we lived as Rhodes Scholars together in the 1960s. So anyway, that's why when Larry Summers said this, I thought, boy, this would be great. And so we followed up and took the trips.
Mr. President, when did your relationship with Mr. Epstein end?
When did it end? Well, I believe I took my last flight in 2003. Now,
thank you, Activista.
Later, I became aware of some involvement he had in the first Clinton Global Initiative, but it was much later.
Why did your relationship with Mr. Epstein end?
Well, after a year or two, we really picked up a head of steam with this AIDS program, and a lot of other people whom I knew better and who really cared about the work came forward and offered to help us provide transportation. And I thought Mr. Epstein was an interesting man, but I didn't think he was really interested in what I was doing. That is, he asked all these questions. He did ask about economics and politics, as he said he would. And he never asked me anything untoward. It's just that I thought I had done what I promised to do, and he had done what he promised to do. And I thought I'd always over the years, with these donors, tried not to overstay my welcome. I thought that we'd done enough, and then it's time to start working with other people.
When did you first learn of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes?
I think in 2008, when he was prosecuted. There's nothing that I saw when I was around him that made me realize he was trafficking women, and I never.
Let's talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. When did you first meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I believe I first met her with him when she was working with him.
And what did you understand Ms. Maxwell, and what did you understand her relationship to be with Mr. Epstein?
I thought she was sort of his chief of staff or administrator.
And you said that you first met Ms. Maxwell with Mr. Epstein. Is that after you were president?
Yeah, I don't believe I met her when I was president. I could have. I met a lot of people, I don't remember, but I definitely remember meeting her on that first flight.
Can you briefly, for the record, describe the nature and extent of your relationship with Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, it was. It lasted longer and was more extensive than my relationship with Mr. Epstein, because Ghislaine Maxwell started going with a man named Ted Waite, who had made a lot of money making the first sort of self-designed computers. And he was a big supporter of mine and the foundation. Before he started seeing Ghislaine, we had been friends, and he was interested particularly in reducing pollution in the oceans. And so when she started going with him, I would see her from time to time.
And when did your relationship with Ms. Maxwell end?
I don't think I've seen her in a decade. I don't know. It's been a long time. I don't know exactly when.
Why did your relationship with Ms. Maxwell end?
Well, first she moved to Boston, I think. She had a relationship with a man there, and I think they may have married. And so she wasn't so much around, and then when it became, after 2019, when it became obvious that she was involved too, to an extent that I did not know, that was the end of it.
And I want to make sure the record is clear. You mentioned that your relationship with Ms. Maxwell was more extensive than that of Mr. Epstein.
Well, it lasted longer, yes.
Okay. When do you have any recollection of what year it would have ended?
No, but when she was with Ted Waite, she was when we were kicking off CGI. She was very interested in that, and she participated. But I don't remember, I don't know, it's been 10, 12 years since I saw her. I don't remember when the last time was.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you some baseline questions regarding who you communicated with and about what. If you don't recall specifics, but do recall you communicated with them, you should answer yes, but say you do not recall specifics.
Okay.
Counsel, can I just ask, if you're going down a list, your question is, did he communicate with the person, yes or no? And then you'll come back if he says yes to ask further.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I will finish the prompt here too. So the question, Mr. President, have you ever communicated with any of the following people regarding Mr. Jeffrey Epstein or Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell? And for now, you can say yes or no, and we will come back to discuss each one.
And this is to the best of his recollection, yeah?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
First, Richard Kahn.
Richard who?
Kahn.
T-O-D-D?
K-A-H-N.
I don't know who that is.
Darren Indyke.
Indyke?
Correct.
I don't know who that is.
Sarah Kellen.
I don't know who that is.
Uma Abedin.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. President, the question is, as I understand it, name the people you communicated to about Epstein and Maxwell.
Oh, obviously I know Huma very well.
Oh no,
I
Bill.
don't remember any specific conversations we ever had about Epstein and Maxwell.
Bill, lock in. What do you?
Noam Chomsky.
No, Mr. Chomsky wasn't a big fan of mine. He thought I was too conservative.
Leslie Groff.
Leslie who?
Groff.
I'm sorry, I don't know who that is.
Nadia Marcinkova.
I don't know who that is.
Jean-Luc Brunel.
I don't know who that is, I don't believe.
Alan Dershowitz.
I know him. And I'm not aware that we ever talked about Epstein or Maxwell. I don't believe we did.
Reid Hoffman.
I know Reid Hoffman, but he never talked to me about Mr. Epstein or Miss Maxwell.
Karina Shuliak.
I don't believe I know who that is. I don't think I've ever met that person.
Woody Allen.
I do know who he is, but I don't think I ever met him, and I never talked to him about Epstein or Maxwell.
Sandy Berger.
Sandy Berger was my national security advisor, and we were very close personally, but he's been dead for several years. And I don't think I ever talked to him about either one of those people.
Jess Staley.
Jess Staley?
Correct.
No.
Paul Morris.
I don't believe I know him.
LED Rothschild.
Who Rothschild?
LED Rothschild.
LED?
Mm-hmm.
I know Evelyn Rothschild. Is that who it is?
No, and I have other Rothschilds on this list as well.
I'm not sure who LED Rothschild is.
I know the conspiracy theorists heard this part and already started to connect those red strings on the fucking Rothschilds. Somebody asked earlier about Noam Chomsky. So Noam Chomsky, it flew on Epstein's plane. I don't know the extent of. I know he came out with like a statement about it. I haven't looked into it. So just for that. Also, just as a reminder, as Democrats or liberals or leftists or essentially anyone with a brainstem that functions, we can recognize that this guy's suspicious. Based on the information in the Epstein files, as well as some of the ways he's answering these questions, I think it's very possible that that he did commit some sort of situation. Possible. I'm speculating. I don't think he's like Trump, so I don't think I'm going to get sued like that. But and it's okay. It's good. It's good that he's answering these questions, right? I don't really know why they questioned Hillary for 4.5 hours. What the fuck does Hillary have to do with this? But it's good that he's answering these questions. And if it turns out that that he did commit crimes, they should put him under the jail. But just remember, like, so if you're in chat and you're like, "Ooh, I didn't like that answer," and you didn't vote for the sexual assaulter, then that's like totally fair. But if you did, then like literally eat shit, because I want you to think about it for a second. Think about it. Trump would never do this, ever. He could have exonerated himself from the sexual assault allegation, right? At the time, it was an allegation or an accusation. He had 2 years to submit his DNA evidence. He wouldn't even do that. Can you imagine him sitting down for a questioning like this? Never. So those on the left, we can shit talk this guy. We can call out some of these answers. We can call out the information that came out about him, and we can even call for his arrest. But anyone on the right, you guys can't say any of that. you literally don't have the ability to. So just letting you know, in case there's any MAGA watching, just sit this one out. Let the adults talk about this. Thanks.
I met a bunch of them when I spoke at the funeral for Evelyn Rothschild. And I had met some of the others, the one couple in France once 20 years ago, but I don't remember him.
Lynn Forrester Rothschild.
Yes, I know her, but I don't remember ever discussing Jeffrey Epstein or Glenn Maxwell with her.
Glenn Dubin.
I don't believe I know him.
Eva Anderson.
I don't believe I know her.
Casey Wasserman.
I know him, and he was on a trip to Africa with me. But I don't recall ever discussing either Glenn Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein with him.
Ira Magaziner.
Yes, I think I mentioned him earlier. He was the person who basically helped me start the AIDS program, and he ran the Clinton Health Access Initiative for many years. He retired a few years ago. But I don't remember ever discussing either Epstein or Rothschild with him, or Maxwell with him.
Karen Ewing.
No.
Stacy Plaskett.
Stacy Plaskett is the member of Congress from the Virgin Islands, isn't she?
Correct.
I know her. But I don't recall ever discussing Epstein or Maxwell.
Howard Lutnick.
Howard Lutnick is the Secretary of Commerce, right?
Correct.
I know him and from 9/11, and because Hillary worked with his company and helped him to get going again. But, and I know he's now President Trump's Secretary of Commerce, but I don't remember ever having any conversation with him about Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell.
Doug Band.
And he worked for me for years. And I know that he arranged like airplane flights and things like that, and was doing work on the first Clinton Global Initiative in 2005. And I know that he knew both Epstein and Maxwell. I do not know to what extent he was in contact with them. And I heard things in the last thing I didn't have any idea of 24 years ago. So you'd have to be more specific.
Damn, no warning? What the hell? This behavior is not in line with our policies. Gifting is... Oh, I'm muted. This behavior is not in line with our policies. Gifting is suspended for 10 minutes in this live. Reason, limited interaction. Oh, I'm not reacting hard enough. Bruh. Okay. All right. Okay, fucking... Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna appeal that. See what happens. Under normal circumstances, I would just wait out the 10 minutes, but on principle. Oh, and now they check the appeal and they're like, oh wait, he should be banned. Okay, I appealed it. All right. Dan hit us with the YouTube thumbnail reaction. Wait, I gotta... Happened to Adam yesterday, I believe. He didn't click a button. Dance. I've seen people play whole Disney movies online. Do one debate, then proceed. So like, okay. Here's my thing. If it was just the one-off, right? I would just wait out the 10 minutes. The problem is that like warnings and shit like that stack and can lead to a suspension. Dan, I love the Superman curl. Thank you. My girlfriend doesn't let me cut it. I would have cut it by now. Have lived a whole pedophile life. I don't know. Is Jimmy talking about... I don't know which president Jimmy's talking about. Reset? I don't really want to reset. All right. Well, I'm just gonna press play. Here we go. Good luck.
If you want to know if I knew something then, I can tell you as best I can, but he worked for me and I knew some of what he was doing and I didn't know some of what he was doing.
Thank you, and we will return to Mr. Van. Louis Free.
I do know him. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't have any conversations with him about anything practically, but I certainly didn't talk to him about this.
Wait. Oh, Lester, you just got here? I'm gonna start over. I got you.
Deposition before the House Oversight Committee last week. It was released just a few moments ago as part of the investigation into convicted sex offender
But I certainly didn't talk to him about this.
Robert Rubin.
Bob Rubin was Larry Summers' predecessor as Treasury Secretary and the first director of the National Economic Council. But I don't even know if he knew Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. I had no conversation with him about it.
And for now, Mr. President, you can answer.
I'm sorry,
yes or
Hark.
no.
Okay.
And the yes or no is intended to convey whether or not you had a conversation about Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein.
Correct.
So the answer to Rubin is no.
Larry Summers.
Yes.
Pete Rathgeb.
Pete who?
Rathgeb.
Rathko. R-A-T-H-K-O?
R-A-T-H-G-E.
Oh, Rathko. I don't recall that name.
John Podesta.
I don't believe I ever had a talk with John about it. I did stay in touch with John Podesta after I left the White House. And I consider him a friend, but I don't believe we ever discussed Epstein or Maxwell.
Andrew Friendly.
No, he was one of my, what you call body men at the White House. And we've stayed in touch over the years, but I don't remember discussing Epstein or Maxwell with him.
I'm gonna be honest. That's a suspicious name.
Rumler.
Andrew Friendly.
Kathy Rumler is a lawyer who has done some, on occasion, some help for the foundation. I don't believe I ever discussed Maxwell or Epstein with it, but I can't be sure, but I don't remember doing it.
Mr. President, they're only asking you what you can remember.
What?
They're only asking you what you can remember.
Mark Middleton.
I did not,
What the hell was that?
and he sadly is dead now. Did not.
Middleton.
What the hell was that? What is this? Subliminal messaging? What the fuck was that? They flashed Hillary Clinton on the screen for like 2 seconds. What the? It's like when Michael was trying to get with the what was her name, Donna, and it just flashed sex on the screen for a second. What the hell?
What you can remember.
Mark Middleton.
I did not, and he sadly is dead now.
Bill Richardson.
No, he's dead too now, sadly, but I didn't know about his relationship with Epstein.
George Mitchell.
No.
Bill Gates.
No.
Leon Black.
No.
Ayud Barak.
No.
Tony Blair.
No.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
I knew that he knew, at some point I knew that he knew Ghislaine Maxwell. But I did not know, I don't think, that he knew Epstein.
So is that a yes that you had communications with him?
No, we never had anything.
Is your question communications about Epstein and Maxwell?
Correct.
Just generally as a conversation, like you're together? Can you just
Yes.
elaborate more so he can better answer your question?
Mr. President, did you ever have any communications with Prince Andrew related to Mr. Epstein or Miss Maxwell?
The direct answer to your question is no, but I don't want to mislead you. I know that because of my friendship with Evelyn and Lynn Rothschild, and because the former prince was around them, and they knew Ghislaine Maxwell from Britain and through her father, her late father. There may have been some conversation there. I don't remember it, but I don't want to mislead you. I knew something that.
Thank you.
Your question, because it's so broad, means that any social engagement that you might have would be captured.
Yeah,
So
I
I think
didn't-
what he's trying to distinguish between is what you're trying to learn and just social engagement.
Yes.
If I had a social engagement with Andrew,
Related to Mr. Epstein?
not related to him, no,
Thank you. Peter Mandelson,
no,
Mohammed bin Salman,
no,
Larry Page,
no,
Sergey Brin.
no.
So let's talk about Larry Summers. You mentioned that you had communications with him related to Maxwell and Epstein. What were the nature of those?
For the record, he said with Epstein, just to
Just
clarify.
Epstein.
Just Epstein. Thank you. You mentioned that you had communications with Larry Summers related to Mr. Epstein. Can you describe the nature of those communications?
Yes, as I said before, he called me on the phone. He knew what I was trying to do with this AIDS work and how important it was to me. And he said he had just talked to Jeffrey Epstein, who he's described as a successful investment advisor who made a lot of money and had made a large commitment to Harvard to brain research. And he said he wants to talk to you about politics and economics, and he says if you will take an hour on the longer legs of these trips he knows you're going to make to Africa and Asia to talk to him about it, that he will fly you on his.
Oh, Gwendolyn, you're back for more? Not one of the victims ever implicated Trump either? Yes! Yes, they did! You just don't believe the ones that did. No matter who, whatever. None of the victims implicated him. Okay, the ones that did are lying, right? Katie Johnson's lying. You don't believe Katie Johnson. No matter what happens. What is your problem? Why can't you just say, if he did something wrong, he should be punished. And if he didn't do something wrong, he shouldn't be punished. Why? Why are you in a cult? And the worst cult. Not a cult behind a charismatic leader. Literally the worst among us. Can't speak full sentences. All he talks about is himself. He's a baby back bitch. He's not even strong. Someone asked him a hard question. That's such a mean question. Oh my God. Quiet, piggy. How dare you speak to me like that? Just the actual literal worst cult leader of all time. You are all so beyond help. It's so disgusting. Like at least other cult leaders have some charisma, have some believable lies, right? Trump literally just openly lies to your face. He's like, no new wars. I just did a new war. It's good, by the way. Like, he gets accused of sexual assault, right? They say, hey, just submit your DNA to exonerate yourself. He doesn't do it for 2 fucking years. He gets found liable for sexual assault. And you, Gwendolyn, you come in here and you say, Trump wasn't implicated in anything. Literally eat shit. Eat shit. Eat shit. The TikTok, I'm engaging. This is me engaging, okay? Turn the gifts back on, okay? Because Gwendolyn, I don't know what else you would need to see at this point, all right? I don't know what else you need to see. Come on, man. Again, just so we're clear, you of your own accord, Sasha Riley, thank you, Kit. You of your own accord came in here in a live where I think Bill Clinton is probably implicated. I'm a Democrat, and I think he's probably implicated based on what we've seen so far. So you come in, you're like, oh wait, shit. If I talk shit about Bill Clinton, it's not gonna trigger him. Okay, well, this is what I'll do. I will just defend the pedophile, protecting, sexual assaulting, child sexualize his daughter, a charity robbing, child cancer charity robs the money from them. I will defend that guy, and that will make him crash out because that guy right there on my screen, he's a person with a brain and empathy. But me, Gwendolyn, only thing I care about is being inside of Donald Trump's rectum so deep I can smell the Diet Cokes that he had 3 weeks ago. Okay, so for you, Gwendolyn, I'm going to give you one last crash out. All right. Now, the next time you say anything, I'm reporting you to the proper authorities because your hard drive needs to be checked. Elon Musk in July says Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's why they're not being released. In August, Pam Bondi, by the way, Epstein killed himself. We're closing all the investigations. No other people are going to be implicated. There's no more indictments. Also, don't ask questions. Donald Trump says, if you care about the Epstein files, I don't want your support. You hear that, and you say, he must be innocent, rather than you say, he's either a pedophile or protecting pedophiles. And just so we're clear, you wouldn't care either way. But just what we know alone, okay? Let's say you don't care about adult women, right? Oh, E. Jean Carroll was sexually assaulted. You don't care about her. I get it. You're a horrible person, okay? But maybe you care about children. Even if there's no evidence that he molested any children, just protecting people who molested children should be enough. For a human with a soul, it should be enough. Now, Gwendolyn, you're not a human. I'm not even, you might just be a Russian bot. I pray to a God I'm not even sure exists that you are a bot, because I can't live my life knowing humans like you exist and you're not incarcerated.
Airplane, and your service detail that he will fly you on his airplane, and your staff, and your Secret Service detail, and any other people you want to take who are supporting your work.
And you mentioned these communications related to the work of your foundation. Did you ever have any other communications with Larry Summers related to Mr. Epstein?
No.
So for the record, you never discussed anything related to Mr. Epstein and young women or girls?
Absolutely not.
Mr. President, for the record, have you ever been contacted by any law enforcement agency concerning Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
As far as I know, no. That is, as far as I remember. Back in 2008, I sort of thought somebody might ask me something, because I was glad this had come out since it had happened, but I don't believe anybody ever did.
You mentioned that you thought someone would want to ask you something. Can you elaborate on what that means?
Also, I hate to interrupt, but I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. So, is blocked. Hold on. Okay, well, I might just have to. Congress, November 3rd. Okay. Jamie Raskin, November 3rd. Pam Bondi letter. Okay, we're going to get this out of the way right now. There we go. Okay. So this right here, just to be clear, this right here, for me, for someone that cares about protecting child molesters, right, and would want that not to happen. I don't want child molesters to be protected. I, like Thomas Massey, even though we disagree about so much of our politics, at the very least we agree that child molesters should not be protected, and they should feel the full extent of the law, right? Victims should get justice. This letter alone is enough for, if we ignore everything about Donald Trump, everything, this letter alone is enough to impeach this entire administration. Okay, so, dear Attorney General Bondi, why would the Trump administration, the Department of Justice, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation kill an ongoing criminal investigation into a massive, decades-long criminal sex trafficking ring that preyed on girls and young women? Who exactly are you intending to protect by this? This is a letter to Pam Bondi from Jamie Raskin. And just wait until you hear what's in this letter, okay? Just so we're clear. Wait until you hear this. Until January 2025, okay? This is the month that Donald Trump took office. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York was running an active investigation into Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's co-conspirators. So for all the NPCs that got the USB, right? The USB that uploaded the new talking point of, well, Democrats had the files for 4 years. Why didn't they release them? Okay, active investigation into the co-conspirators until at least January of 2025. All right, you have your answer. And by the way, anytime a Republican or a conservative or a Trump supporter or a Nazi, because at this point I don't know the difference between any of them, anytime they ask one of those stupid ass questions, why didn't the Democrats release them for 4 years? They literally could just copy paste that question. Don't ask us. Put it into you could put it into fucking Grok, any of them, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, any of them. Just why didn't the Democrats release them? And it'd be like, well, moron, the Democrats, first of all, didn't run on releasing them. Second of all, had open investigations. Third of all, Maxwell wasn't even done. She wasn't even convicted yet by the end of her term. And fourth of all, and this is the most important one, it wasn't until they closed the investigations that Democrats really came down hard on the Trump administration. They think that the moment Trump came into office, Democrats were just like, now we care about Epstein. No, we were just waiting for the investigation to play out. The one good thing about Kash Patel, yes, he's unqualified, and yes, he's a Trump sycophant, but the one good thing about him was leading up to the election, he was gung-ho about getting the Epstein list released. So we're waiting for that to happen. It wasn't until July and August of 2025, when they came out and said, hey, so we're closing everything. Don't ask about this, where we all had valid questions, right? Now, I know you didn't have valid questions because you don't care about anything except Donald Trump. Not even yourself. You don't care about yourself, because the only way you voted for Trump and care about yourself is if you make more than $400,000. I know you guys don't. So if you voted for Donald Trump, you don't even care about yourself. The only thing you care about is either your cult leader, Donald Trump, or hurting people that you hate. That's it. Those are the only two valid reasons you could have for voting for Donald Trump. So I know you don't care about this, all right? I know you don't care about this. I'm going to finish reading the letter. In January, SDNY prosecutors were ordered to transfer the Epstein case files to DOJ headquarters in Washington, D.C. Since that time, according to information provided to our committee by counsel for Epstein survivors who provided the key evidence enabling the successful prosecution of Ms. Maxwell, the investigation into co-conspirators has inexplicably ceased, and no further investigative steps appear to have been taken. DOJ and FBI formally closed the case in July of 2025. This is what I was just talking about. Abruptly issuing a memo that declared, without offering any supporting details, that DOJ and FBI, quote, did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. As a reminder, in the Epstein files, Les Wexner is listed as a co-conspirator. So at the very minimum, now, I'm not saying that it's just Les Wexner, but at the minimum, that's one additional co-conspirator, one additional potential child sex trafficker / participant in child sex trafficking. And you don't care. You don't care. It's so, and that's just one. That's just the one that's like they got caught red-handed. And the reason I say they got caught red-handed was because when they released the Epstein files, they were forced to, by the way. They shut down the fucking government to try to prevent it. They released the Epstein files. They redacted his name. And it wasn't until Thomas Massie, the sole Republican with a fucking heart and soul, wasn't until Thomas Massie called them out on it that they unredacted his name. And he was literally listed as a co-conspirator. Why would he not be investigated? And just friendly reminder, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, Les Wexner had a deposition, just like this one, into Bill and Hillary Clinton, okay? Hillary, by the way, has nothing to do with this. She's just being deposed because she's the wife of Bill Clinton, and they hate her. Les Wexner, deposition, 0, count them, 0 Republicans showed up. But they show up to this because they don't care about the victims. They don't care about the crimes. They just, we want to get Bill Clinton. We want to get the Democrats, right? So Democrats want everyone that molested a child or trafficked a child to face justice. I don't care if it's 100 Democrats and only 50 Republicans. Send 150 of them into the gallows. I don't care, or whatever the punishment is. All right, I don't know what the punishment is for those crimes. But for you, it's okay. Well, anybody but Republicans, please. Anybody but Republicans. Les Wexner is a big GOP donor, by the way. In case you were wondering why, you're like, wait, why would they be protecting him? Big GOP donor, right? Big. Okay. So DOJ and FBI's failure to investigate this conduct is a betrayal of the more than 1,000 survivors of this multi-billion-dollar international sex trafficking ring. Remember, multi-billion dollars, thousands of victims. And Kash Patel says under oath there is no evidence that Epstein trafficked women or children to anyone but himself. Okay. Many survivors actively assisted federal agents and prosecutors in the hope of holding the perpetrators of these outrageous crimes accountable. Remember, the victims that stood behind Pam Bondi have not been able to meet with the Justice Department. They have not. As these survivors made clear to the DOJ and FBI, Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell did not act alone. Until this January, these survivors understood DOJ and FBI's investigation into these co-conspirators to be active, serious, and ongoing. Yet the Trump administration has inexplicably killed the investigation, declared these survivors not credible, and falsely claimed no evidence exists to support charges against additional co-conspirators. I write to demand an explanation for why DOJ has abandoned the women and girls abused by Mr. Epstein, Ms. Maxwell, and their co-conspirators, fired or cut off career prosecutors from the case, and ceased its investigation into one of the largest sex trafficking rings in history. Thank you, Joby. And thank you, Erica. In 2019 and 2020, the SDNY indicted Jeffrey Epstein and his accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell on charges related to their long-standing conspiracy to traffic young women and girls. Mr. Epstein committed suicide in August 2019. Ms. Maxwell was indicted in June of 2020, convicted in December of 2021, and sentenced in June of 2022. During this time period and until 2024, nearly 50 survivors of this criminal conduct provided information to SDNY prosecutors and FBI agents as part of the investigation. The information provided by this huge group of women was precise and detailed. They described how Mr. Epstein, Ms. Maxwell, and their co-conspirators orchestrated a sophisticated and clandestine sex trafficking conspiracy that trafficked them to at least 20 men. These survivors shared with DOJ and FBI the specific identities of many of these co-conspirators, how this operation was structured and financed, and which individuals participated in these crimes. Many of these women spoke with federal prosecutors and agents more than once over an extended time period in meetings that were on record and memorialized in FBI Form 302s. The understanding of these survivors at the time they shared the information and until the beginning of the second Trump administration was that the investigation into potential co-conspirators was still active and ongoing. By all accounts, this understanding regarding the ongoing nature of the investigation was shared by the federal law enforcement agents working on the case. Similarly, the U.S. government related that there was an ongoing pursuit of Epstein's co-conspirators in filings before the Supreme Court during the Biden administration. In January 2025, that's, remember, when Donald Trump took office, there was a sudden and dramatic shift in the posture of the investigation. SDNY prosecutors notified the survivors that they were sending their investigative files to Washington, D.C., and that prosecutors at DOJ headquarters would be leading the investigation moving forward. Yet it appears the case was not transferred so that it could be continued. Unbeknownst to both the survivors and SDNY prosecutors, it was transferred so that it could be killed. To justify this inexplicable refusal to investigate Mr. Epstein's co-conspirators, FBI Director Kash Patel, who reports directly to you, repeatedly impugned the credibility of Epstein survivors at a hearing before the House Judiciary Committee in September, claiming that DOJ and FBI had determined that the information provided by the survivors was, quote, not credible. When questioned by Congresswoman Jayapal if the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific trafficking ring are they credible, Director Patel asserted, "We have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and we will look at it. And the evidence that we have was the same evidence that the Biden and Obama Justice Department had, and they determined, not me, they determined that that information was not credible. This assertion does not hold water. Many of these survivors are the same ones who provided the evidence and testimony that a federal jury in New York found sufficiently credible to conclude, beyond any reasonable doubt, that Ms. Maxwell was guilty of multiple child sex trafficking offenses. Clearly, the federal prosecutors who put these women on the stand found them entirely credible, and Director Patel's stunning assertion to the contrary lacks any basis in fact." Even more troubling, despite routinely asking for people to come forward, quote unquote, with evidence and promising that the FBI, quote unquote, will look at it, Director Patel seemingly refused to meet with any of the survivors, would not or could not elaborate on what current investigative leads they had followed, and astonishingly appeared to be unaware of any FBI review into nearly $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions flagged by 4 major banks relating to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. Your department's failure to review these transactions and pursue associated co-conspirators defies comprehension. For instance, Director Patel refused to answer whether he had subpoenaed Mr. Epstein's lawyers and accountants, dodging the question by saying that they were part of an investigation in 2018 and 2019. But that ignores years subsequent investigation and disclosures by survivors. Since that time, there have been additional horrifying revelations regarding how bankers, accountants, attorneys, and other facilitators enabled the financial transactions and legal paperwork, including sham marriages orchestrated between Epstein victims, necessary to carry out the sprawling sex trafficking enterprise. These facts are well established and well publicized, but they are the leads that your department has deemed not credible. DOJ is letting co-conspirators go free without consulting the women harmed by their conduct, thus registering an unmistakable echo of Alex Acosta's shameful decision to shut survivors out of the process that led to Mr. Epstein's first sweetheart plea deal in 2008 that immunized his unnamed potential co-conspirators. Under Biden DOJ, quote, resolved to learn from those errors, end quote, by, quote, coordinating closely with victims in its ongoing pursuit of Epstein's co-conspirators, end quote, and resolved to, quote, inform crime victims about expected charging decisions as early in the process as feasible and appropriate, end quote. Your DOJ has abandoned those promises in pursuit of a shameful, gigantic cover-up. The Committee on the Judiciary has oversight jurisdiction over the FBI. Pursuant to Rule X of the rules of the House of Representatives, House Judiciary Democrats are investigating the extent to which DOJ officials and Donald Trump have manipulated and misused prosecutorial and law enforcement resources to inappropriately shield the president, allow co-conspirators in one of history's largest sex trafficking rings to go free, and mislead the public. This investigation will inform legislative efforts to insulate DOJ and career employees from political interference, increase transparency, and establish and maintain ethical standards for employees in the executive branch. Given your failure to protect and inform survivors, the Committee of the Judiciary is also considering reforms to the Crime Victims Act, including clarifying prosecutors' responsibility to confer with survivors of certain crimes before the attachment of criminal proceedings, including the cessation of investigation. Basically, you, as prosecutors, right, you should have to inform the victims that you're closing the investigation, which they did not do. The only person they informed was probably Donald Trump when he said, hey, Elon said I was in the files, close this shit. Literally 2 weeks later, it was closed. This proposed reform would work to ensure that political appointees at DOJ cannot silently pause or end longstanding investigations to protect powerful individuals from accountability. The committee must understand what steps DOJ has taken since receiving the Epstein investigative files from SDNY and what information it attempted to shield from survivors to fully determine the extent of necessary reforms. Accordingly, please provide the following information to the committee no later than 5 p.m. I don't think any of this information ended up being provided, but I'll read them. Number one, by 5 p.m. November 10th, 2025. Number one, an accounting of all investigative steps or reviews undertaken by DOJ since January 20th, 2025 relating to Epstein and Maxwell sex trafficking ring, including but not limited to files, file transfers, witness interviews, document reviews, survivor and victim notifications, subpoenas issued, search warrants sought or executed, and other steps. Two, all files, reports, or summaries of any investigative or review into the Epstein and Maxwell files conducted by DOJ between January 20th, 2025 and the present, including but not limited to SharePoint files produced during your review. And three, all files, reports, communications, and summaries relating to the staffing of any Epstein review or investigative matter since January 2025. We had to pass a law. We had to pass a law to get them to release any of this. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Very truly yours, Jamie Raskin, Ranking Member. CC, the Dishonorable Jim Jordan, Chairman. Has Jamie been notified about the Dow, though? Wait, I forgot about the Dow being 50,000. All right, well, actually, yeah, never mind. Carry on, child rapists. Anyway, just needed to get that off my chest.
Just because he let me use this airplane.
And to be clear, have you ever provided any information to any law enforcement agency concerning Jeffrey Epstein or Miss Ghislaine Maxwell?
So you asked this question before. You're just asking him to reiterate the response to the question that he previously asked you, Mr. President.
I don't believe any law enforcement agency has ever asked me, and I didn't know enough to volunteer anything.
Mr. President, are you aware of any efforts by anyone, including an attorney, process server, investigator, or any other person to contact you regarding any civil lawsuit, claim, or litigation involving Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
Not that I recall.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever inform or represent to you that he was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States?
No.
Did Ghislaine Maxwell ever inform or represent to you that she was working with any intelligence service of any nation, including the United States?
No.
And during your relationship did you ever suspect Epstein or Maxwell of being affiliated with any intelligence agency?
I did not.
Thank you. I want to talk about your time in the White House. I realize that you have testified, your recollection is limited, but did Mr. Epstein ever visit the White House while you were president?
Objection, asked and answered.
The records reflect that he did.
That's not the question.
According to FOIA requests to the Clinton Library, Mr. Epstein visited the White House at least 17 times between 1993 and 1995. Do you have any reason to dispute those numbers?
Nope, I don't.
Do you know what the nature of Mr. Epstein's visits to the White House were?
Are you asking what he knew in preparation for today? Can you clarify what you are seeking to learn?
First of all, at the time, I had no idea he was coming and going. Huge numbers of people come and go in the White House. A lot of them come well over once, especially if they're lobbyists, for example. But I didn't know he was coming, so I certainly didn't know what he was coming about.
Mr. President, after you left office, did you or your staff ever conduct a review of records, documents, or other materials related to Mr. Epstein's connections to your White House?
You're exempting counsel. You can respond to that, but don't say anything about what you talked to your lawyers about. You can respond to this question.
Do you need the question again?
Yeah, I don't even understand. You mean, did we look into what he did in the White House after I left office?
Mr. President, one of the concerns of the committee is how Mr. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell attempted or potentially attempted to curry favor with influential figures. My question was, after you left office, did you or your staff ever conduct a review of records related to Mr. Epstein's connections to your White House?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
At this time, I would like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 11. And while it's being passed out, I will note for the record, this is a New York Times article entitled The Untold Story of How Jeffrey Epstein Got Rich, published on December 16th, 2025. And when you receive the article, I want to direct your attention to the last paragraph of page 31.
The last paragraph of which page?
31. And when you are ready, I will also read it into the record. Again, we are looking at page 31 in the last paragraph, and I will read it into the record and ask you a few questions.
Please give him a moment to read this.
I see this.
This is the paragraph he wants
Yeah.
to discuss with us.
Mr. President, the article reads, by 1995, Clinton and Epstein were sufficiently chummy that he wrote a get well soon note to Epstein's ailing mother. Hang in there, the president scrawled on a yellow post-it, which Epstein saved and we reviewed. Mr. President, did you write this note?
Are you asking if he recalls writing this note from 1995 on a Post-it?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Just clarify.
It looks like my handwriting, but I don't recall, but I will tell you this. I have written get well notes to lots of people I did not know and had never met.
And you answered my next question. Did you ever meet Jeffrey Epstein's mother or any of his family members?
No, I'm not sure that I was asked to do this by Jeffrey Epstein.
And I want to focus specifically on the article's characterization. It says that you were chummy with Mr. Epstein in 1995. Is that accurate?
No, I'm going to object to that. It's a characterization. It's hearsay. The President may answer.
No. I was surprised by that.
Stop.
Let's talk about your relationship with Mr. Epstein after you left the White House.
Okay.
How would you characterize your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Mr.
Well,
President, we have a question for you.
During the time it was cordial.
At any time, would you characterize Mr. Epstein as a friend?
We were friendly, but I didn't know him well enough to say we were friends.
How often did you communicate with Mr. Epstein?
Usually only on the trips. I did go to his house once, as you know.
And we will discuss that further later on today. And how did you typically communicate with Mr. Epstein? Did you talk to him on the phone?
Excuse me, he just said he talked to him on the trips, so that's in person.
Typically, my staff communicated with with him. And I think it was mostly Mr. Band, but somebody talked to him.
And you mentioned that you visited one of his properties. But outside of the work on the foundation and your trips, how many times did you meet in person with Mr. Epstein?
You're asking him to the best of his recollection.
Outside of the trips, I believe he came to the office once in Harlem. I was still the house up there then. And I think he paid a brief visit to the office. And I paid a brief visit to his house. When I once thought he was there, but now that I think about it, I don't think he was. And that was it. I mean, I didn't. That's what I remember.
And you mentioned you visited Mr. Epstein's house. Are you referring to his New York townhouse?
Yes.
And your communications with Mr. Epstein, did you ever have any communications that were not related to the foundation?
I don't believe we ever talked about anything but the work we were doing. I mean, maybe small talk. I can't imagine. I don't remember the conversations.
And for the record, before we move on, did you ever have any communications with Mr. Epstein that related to young women or girls?
No.
Excuse me, do you have your, fantastic, thank you very much.
Am I good? Good morning, Mr. President. How are you?
Fine.
I want to first start out by asking you, have you ever been or traveled on, or has Huma Abedin ever traveled on Epstein's plane?
If you know.
I don't know. She might have taken one of the trips with us, but I don't know.
Okay, so have you flown on a plane with her?
Several times.
Several times?
Can you say, have you flown on a plane, any plane?
The Lolita Express.
What is that when you say that?
Have you flown on the Lolita Express with Jeffrey?
Objection.
I don't know what that is.
Have you flown on Jeffrey Epstein's plane with Huma Abedin?
Ask and answer. You may answer again.
I don't remember, but I have flown. She's been sort of a part of our family for a very long time. So when I went to the Middle East, which I don't think I ever took a plane ride with Jeffrey Epstein, but she would typically go when I did.
So have you traveled with both of them together?
Excuse me, both of whom, Congressman?
Of course. Have you traveled with Jeffrey Epstein and Huma Abedin together?
I do not know.
Okay, thank you. If the staff can please pass out EFTA 0021628 and the rest of the documents I have them print regarding passports to the President and Council.
To be Exhibit 12.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, if you look at the passport page, at the bottom of the document should show the EFTA number. It's 00021628.
Yeah.
There's a name on there. Would you be able to read that name to me?
Can you read the name?
Excuse me, Congressman,
Yes.
will you
You
ask
can
me
read
if
the
you've ever seen the document before?
Yes, well, this is evidence, and so I wanted to ask him specifically. So it's from the DOJ document release, right?
I understand, but he may not have seen it, or he
Okay.
may have seen it.
No, I've never seen it, but it looks like a passport.
Okay. Can you tell me the name that's listed on the passport?
Excuse me, he's never seen this document. Would you just read the name, please?
Yes, the name is Marius Robert.
Marius Robert, yeah,
Are you familiar with that name at all?
no.
Okay. Would you be able to identify the individual in the photo?
It looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, the reason I ask you about this specifically is because I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence operative. And so this was a passport that was actually entered in and released by the Department of Justice, but this was an FBI filing. It was found in his safe, if you will. So it's an alias. The reason I ask you that is because given your nature and position, I'm wondering if you were essentially targeted by a honeypot operation and or by intelligence to gather information. So that's why I asked you that question.
Well, if there was a honey,
Mr. President, there's not a question pending.
I have, is there a question?
No. You can ask a question.
Well, I'll be getting to more, but that's the reason I asked that. Okay, my next question for you is, have you ever had contact with an individual by the name of Shantae Davies?
I believe Shantae that's a distinctive name, and so I think that was the name of one of his flight attendants.
Okay. She's been described on being on a 2002 Africa trip and providing massages. Was she or any other young female on that trip underage at that time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever visit Epstein's Little St. James Island?
No.
We have Virginia Guffrey, who has testified seeing you on the island with two young girls. Did this occur at all? Okay. Why do you think she would have made that claim?
Objection, speculation, he can't possibly.
Have you ever met her or any other Epstein associated underage girl?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. In Epstein's 2016 deposition unsealed in the DOJ files, he refused to answer if you were accompanied by two young women who were approximately 18 years old on the island. Were any such women potentially underage with you? I know you've stated that you were not there, but did you?
In case I haven't made it clear, I believe the victims. Unfortunately, Virginia is not with us to speak to this anymore, but I do believe the victims. So, in the same way that I've come down hard on Trump about this, I also do not trust this man. That said, again, I don't know what's going to come out in the Hillary deposition, but I have no idea what Hillary's going to have to do with any of this. It's not her fault she married a fucking weirdo. Anyway.
Do you have any interaction with the said
Objection to the foundation of the question. He's already stated he was not on the island. You're now asking about a claim of the Fifth Amendment by Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. Would the staff be able? Go.
If the witness doesn't know, the witness is welcome to say he doesn't know.
No, but he actually answered the question.
Yeah, he
when
answered
she
the
asked
question,
that it
but
wasn't
not-
on the island,
I'm
so
not
then she was
instructed
asked.
Okay. Do you know an individual by the name of Sarah Ransom?
I don't believe so.
Okay. There have obviously been claims made about you, and I do not believe that these claims are credible. The reason I am asking you specifically about that name is because that individual stated that you were in sex tapes, okay? It was unfounded and it was discredited. But given the politicization of this entire investigation, do you believe that it would be appropriate of members of this committee to bring in witnesses, whether it is about you or another president, that have unfounded allegations regarding sexual claims of misconduct?
That's not a decision for me to make.
As a recommendation in regards to avoiding trafficking, et cetera, and bringing justice for the victims, would you make that recommendation to this committee?
Congressman, just so I understand the question, you're saying if the witness has unfounded claims?
Well, I don't believe that Sarah Ransom's claims about the president are founded. I don't believe that there's sex tapes with you, President Clinton.
No, I'm just asking about your question. Is it, you're not asking if somebody with plausible claims should be brought in. You're asking if somebody with implausible, unfounded claims.
Correct, because these claims were found to be unfounded by investigators.
So are you asking his opinion?
Yes, because we are trying to figure out in regards to being able to further this investigation and whether or not we are going to be interviewing other individuals regarding sex trafficking, avoiding in the future. I know that you and your wife have both been big on this issue. So I'm asking you, would you think that it would be appropriate that this committee bring in someone like Sarah Ransom, who has unfounded claims that have been debunked, in this investigation. It's
So he
a
answered
simple
the question about, he answered this question when you first asked it then, when he said that it wasn't for him to make those decisions.
Well, I'm asking for his recommendation to the committee and follow-up. It's not a gotcha question. This is obviously a very serious investigation.
Well, first of all, I recommend that you have on your staff a prosecutor who's had a lot of experience in this, dealing with these cases. Normally, it's not a good idea to bring in a witness that you know is lying.
Okay, thank you for that. My last questions for you are you familiar with anyone by the name of Adriana Ross?
I don't think so.
How about Sarah Kellen?
I don't think so.
Okay. Would you recommend that this committee bring in individuals that were listed as trafficking minors? They were listed as co-conspirators and then given plea deals.
I don't know enough about it, but I think you should do whatever you think will strengthen the ability of the United States not to have this happen again.
Okay. Is it possible, and in your opinion, that you and or your wife were targeted as a means of an intelligence gathering operation?
Object to the
by
form of the
Jeffrey Epstein and
question.
Ghislaine Maxwell?
Object to the form of the question. No objection to if he knows that they were targeted.
I believe that's what she asked.
No, she said, is it possible? So she's asking him to speculate instead of asking him, does he know?
Do you know if you were targeted at any point?
I don't, but
Okay.
I don't. I'd sort of be surprised, but I'm not. I don't know.
Okay. All right, Chairman Comer, I think that builds my time. I just want to say thank you very much, President Clinton, for coming in. And I do understand that this has been politicized, but again, I will state on record and I will state this to the press that I don't believe that Sarah Kellen's claims against you were valid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. President, before we left off, I asked you to characterize your relationship with Mr. Epstein. I asked you if you considered him to be a friend. You said you did not. Is that right?
Does anyone know who that was just questioning there? Because like that whole line of questioning was extremely unserious. No, who was it? No, I don't know either. Luna? Oh, was it? And Luna? Because it was like asking Bill's opinion in hopes that he would exonerate Trump. Like that's what I was getting from it. And like, so just so we're clear. Okay, Les Wexner, listed in the Epstein files as a co-conspirator. 0 Republicans show up to question. 0 Republican on the oversight committee. To be clear, if Thomas Massey isn't on the oversight committee, then that's not on him. But of the oversight committee, 0 showed up, and that deposition was in Ohio. Jim fucking Jordan lives in Ohio and did not show up. Okay, so 0 Republicans show up to that. The Republicans that show up here aren't even fucking asking about the Clinton's connection to the victims. They're trying to exonerate Trump. That's the goal.
I said we were friendly and we had a cordial relations, but I didn't know him well enough because we had almost no contact beyond what I described.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 13. And this is base marked House Oversight 000126. And while it's being passed out, this is a letter from a book of letters, which
it's his 50th birthday.
Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. Questions?
Yep.
Mr. President, do you recognize this letter? And for the record, does this appear to be your handwriting and signature?
It is.
And why did you write this letter?
Why did I? Because I was requested to contribute a nice letter for his birthday book.
And who asked you to write the letter?
I don't remember.
Would Ms. Maxwell have asked you?
I don't know. I think someone on my staff asked me.
Now, there's a word that our committee has not been able to identify, and in our defense, the Wall Street Journal has not been able to identify.
Imagine being on his staff.
Can you please read the letter for the record?
Yes. It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted so long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and errors, and still to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends. Not a bad letter.
And because we haven't been able to identify that word until now, what did you
Which
mean?
word was it that you could not?
Solace, you couldn't,
No, errors.
errors. What
Were
did
you
I mean? Anybody who's lived 50 years and done anything has made mistakes as well as progress and done things.
But for the record, you weren't referring to errors in judgment that Mr. Epstein had related to his inappropriate activities involving you.
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about that.
Did
I
you
think he
ever
was
see
just
the
going to
birthday book
answer,
compiled
yeah, it
together?
was because of
I
that.
don't think so.
And you mentioned previously you were friendly with Mr. Epstein. Did you typically send birthday wishes to individuals that you didn't consider to be friends, though?
No, I send out literally hundreds and hundreds of birthday letters every year to people that have been my friends. But if somebody's doing a special, I've sent birthday letters of congratulations to people I've met 2 or 3 times for their 70th birthday, their 80th birthday, their, 50th wedding anniversary. I do it. And I told you, I thought Epstein was interesting and curious. So I wrote a letter that I thought reflected that.
Can you elaborate on what made him interesting and curious?
No more than I've already said.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 14. And while it's being handed out, this is an article published by the New York Times on August 5th, 2025, entitled "A Look Inside Epstein's Manhattan Lair." And once you receive the article, I will just direct your attention to page 10.
Where is that?
No, they haven't brought it yet. Thank you very much.
And we're specifically looking at a framed photo on a wooden table alongside multiple other framed photos. And we're focusing on the photo in the middle, which appears to have a golden frame.
Where is that?
I think 2 more pages. Right there.
Not the page with the Pope.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Page 10? Is that what we're on?
Page 10. Mr. President, do you recognize yourself in this photo?
I do.
And it appears that the man on the right of the photo is Jeffrey Epstein, is that correct?
I think so.
Have you seen this photograph before today?
Only in this picture.
And for the record, what is happening in this photo?
He's smiling at me, looks like he's talking to me.
This is one of the friendly interactions that you were describing earlier?
Yes,
And can you describe the circumstances surrounding this photo?
Are you asking him if he recalls the?
I do not. I have no idea. I see Richard Branson in the back and
Okay.
other people,
That's fine.
but I don't remember anything about it.
And you appear to be comfortable with Mr. Epstein in this photo. Would you disagree with
So
that characterization?
You're creating a characterization. He's already responded to your question about the picture.
I'm comfortable with a lot of people. I'm comfortable here. I'm not happy, but I'm comfortable. And my conscience is clear, that helps. Let me see it. Okay.
Mr. President, we have about 5 minutes remaining in the majority's first hour, so I just want to ask you some.
Oh, is it all Republicans right now? And then it's going to go to Democrats? It's not going back and forth? Also, somebody asked what I was eating. It's pita bread, and then I put some chicken, and then I put some salad, and then I close it and eat it.
Questions related to the crimes committed by Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein sexually abuse or assault young women or girls?
No,
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein receive massages from young women or girls?
not that I recall.
Did Mr. Epstein ever discuss sexual acts of any kind with you?
No,
Did you ever have any sexual contact with young women or girls in the presence of Epstein or Maxwell?
No,
Did you ever have sexual contact with any young woman or girl introduced to you by Epstein or Maxwell?
no,
Mr. President, with the benefit of hindsight, were there things you witnessed that could have suggested that Epstein was trafficking and sexually abusing young women and girls?
I do not believe so.
We will go off the record.
We can go back on the record. Mr. President,
We
good
will
morning.
go off the record.
My name is, and I'll be doing most of the questioning for the minority today. First, I want to thank you for your long and distinguished service to this country. I also want to thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Before we get to questions, I'd like to take a few minutes and highlight some context that we think is relevant for today's conversation. President Trump had a long-standing personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That is not a secret, it is well documented, and I think the public and everyone in Congress understands that at this point. President Trump does not like talking about his long-standing personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we've all seen that as well.
To be clear, as much as I hate Donald Trump, as much as I know that he is not fit to be president, there is a certain amount, if a Democrat comes up and only questions about Trump, I don't like that. This is a deposition of Clinton, and again, Trump not testifying at all. I mean, maybe demands it in some way, right? Like if Trump's not gonna have his own deposition, I guess we got to ask him some questions about it. But like if you come up and only ask about Trump, that's a little bit weird to me because there's a lot of questions I would want to ask of that man right there. That's my opinion.
On November 12th of last year, Oversight Committee Democrats released emails that were obtained from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. In one email from 2011, Epstein said to Ghislaine Maxwell that President Trump was, quote, that dog that hasn't barked, and that an unnamed victim, quote, spent hours at my house with him. In another email from 2019, Epstein wrote that, quote, of course, he, referring to President Trump, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. I'd like to enter as Minority Exhibit A, Oversight Democrats press release from November 12th, 2025, titled House Oversight Committee Releases Jeffrey Epstein Email Correspondence Raising Questions About White House Cover-Up of Epstein Files. And that includes both the emails that I just mentioned. There was a fair amount of public attention on those emails, and 2 days later, President Trump asked the Department of Justice to investigate Epstein's relationships with yourself, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, and JP Morgan Chase. You are, of course, a former Democratic president of the United States. No.
Travis, thank you so much for the PayPal. Do you want me to read this out loud? It's a little personal, so I just wanted to check. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Notably, President Trump did not include any Republicans in his.
Okay. Hi, Dan. 34-year-old cis white male in Oklahoma grew up with MAGA parents and 8 MAGA sisters. And he's the only male sibling. My closest sis passed away last month and understood her mistakes just before passing. I am broken, but you gave her info and hope for our future. Thank you for being you. I'm so sorry for your loss, Travis. Damn, I don't even know what to say. Like my instinct is to say Like, chat, can we show him some love with some like hug emojis? But that kind of it's feeling dystopian at this point. It's like I don't even know. Praying for comfort during this time. Travis, and if you're in the Discord and need community at a time like this, we're here for you. I really appreciate the message and the $20. Obviously, thank you. But just I'm so sorry for your loss. I don't really know what to say at the moment.
His demands. Later that day, Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on social media that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York would comply with President Trump's directive and take the lead on the investigation.
Thank you, Clutch.
I would like to enter as Minority Exhibit B, Attorney General Bondi's post on X, which also includes President Trump's post on Truth Social. It is well understood that you had a personal relationship with Mr. Epstein, and we will talk about that today. But the events I just described color our perspective on the conversation. It appears as if you and other Democratic figures have been targeted by President Donald Trump in an attempt to distract the American people from his own long-standing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And if that were true, it would not be the first time that President Trump has targeted his political enemies under the guise of law enforcement. This deposition is occurring in the context of unprecedented weaponization of the Department of Justice by Donald Trump. You may have a perspective on this of your own, so before we get started, I just want to give you the opportunity to share any thoughts you might have on that subject.
I think I'll let you ask me some questions, and then maybe at the end I'll say something.
That sounds fine. Thank you. I'd like to start our conversation with a few foundational questions so we can just set the record straight from the very beginning. With respect to your relationship with Mr. Epstein, did you ever, at any point during your interactions with Jeffrey Epstein, know about the sexual abuse that he was committing against minors and young women?
No.
Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
With respect to your relationship with Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, did you ever, at any point during your interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell, know about the sexual abuse that she committed and facilitated against minors and young women?
No.
Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
Have you ever, at any point, visited Jeffrey Epstein's former estate on Little St. James Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
No.
In February of last year, Attorney General Pam Bondi said on Fox News that you traveled on Mr. Epstein's plane, quote, because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. I will ask you, did you fly on Mr. Epstein's plane because it had a bed where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls?
No.
Are there any other accusations that have been made against you with respect to Mr. Epstein that you'd like to address before we get started with some chronological questions?
Well, I think you pretty well covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask a series of chronological questions. I'd like to try to create one clear chronological record. Some of that might be repetitive from what you've already talked about. I will try to keep that to a minimum. All of these questions are from a long time ago. If you don't recall anything about what I'm asking, just let me know. Starting with events before and during your presidency, the earliest known link that we're aware of between yourself and Mr. Epstein is that he made a pair of campaign contributions to you in 1992. There was a $1,000 contribution to your presidential election committee in January 1992, and another $1,000 in June to the Clinton Corps General Election Compliance Fund. I imagine a lot of folks donated $1,000 to your campaign. Do you have any specific recollection or knowledge of those particular contributions?
No, I think this is the first time I've ever known that.
Thank you. That takes us into your time as president. You were elected in November of 1992 and inaugurated in January of 1993. Mr. Epstein visited the White House a number of times while you were in office. Our understanding is that Mr. Epstein visited the White House 17 times between 1993 and 1995. I am not going to walk you through each of those visits. I'm just going to break them into categories. think first with respect to the only Epstein visit where it is publicly known that you either met Mr. Epstein or had some interaction was the White House Historical Association reception that you mentioned earlier. I know there's a photograph that you mentioned of yourself and Mr. Epstein meeting. Am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell at that event?
I don't.
With respect to the other 16 times that Mr. Epstein came and went, and that spanned 1993 to 1995, am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein any of those times?
No, I don't think I did, and I don't know who he saw.
It's been publicly reported that in March of 1995, there was a fundraiser in Palm Beach that you attended and that Mr. Epstein also attended. Other guests reportedly included Jimmy Buffett and investor Ron Perlman, who may have hosted the event at his home. Do you have any specific recollection of that event?
Okay, so I haven't done a deep dive into the 17 visits into the Epstein 17 visits to the White House. How can it be that we know that he visited 17 times, but we don't know what 16 of those times were? Like, I mean, I could try to do a deep dive now, but we have 3 hours left in the video, so and I would like to go to sleep tonight. But does anyone know the answer to that? Must just be a log? Is that what it is? Might look into that later.
I remember going there in 1995. I have now seen the picture with Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Buffett. I recognize Jimmy Buffett. He was a longtime friend of mine. He performed for me twice in my second term as president. And we were friends for the rest of his life. But that's it. I don't know if he knew Mr. Epstein. I had no idea what that picture was. I didn't remember it.
And so is it right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein?
No, I don't.
At that fundraiser, just for the transcript?
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce as Minority Exhibit C an article from the Daily Beast titled Jeffrey Epstein Visited Clinton White House Multiple Times in Early 90s. That article is dated July 24th, 2019. Once you receive it, I'll just direct you to page 8 of the article that you're about to receive.
Okay.
Data.
I'll give you a moment to look that note over, and then I'll read the relevant portion into the record. Page 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So you can see here that on April 27th, 1995, Lynn Forrester, now Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, sounds like served on a few committees or boards under your administration, wrote you a note. I'll just read part of that note out loud. Dear Mr. President, it was a pleasure to see you recently at Senator Kennedy's house. There was too much to discuss and too little time. Using my 15 seconds of access to discuss Jeffrey Epstein and currency stabilization, I neglected to talk to you about a topic near and dear to my heart, namely affirmative action and the future. And that's the end of the relevant portion. I just wanted to ask whether you have any specific recollection of this note or of your conversation with Ms. Forrester.
I don't.
As far as you can remember, at this point in the middle of 1995, how would you have characterized your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
It would be virtually non-existent.
Do you recall any other interactions that occurred between yourself and Mr. Epstein during your time in office that have not already been mentioned today?
No. I think I've told you everything I know.
In October of 1999, toward the end of your time in office, we know that Epstein contributed $20,000 to the First Lady's joint fundraising account. Would you have any memory or knowledge of that particular contribution?
No, is that for a White House related thing?
No, the joint fundraising, means the Senate.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Okay, I am going to move to the years after your presidency. We'll do this in chronological order as well. Your second term ended in January of 2001. In December of 2001, the New York Post reported that you and Ms. Maxwell had dinner at a New York City restaurant called Nello's. Do you have any specific recollection of that dinner?
No. How did I know? I didn't. Nor do I remember the article.
So moving into 2002, you touched on this in the previous round. It sounds like there were two meetings. We don't have exact dates for them, but one of them was at your office in Harlem with Mr. Epstein. The other was at Mr. Epstein's home in New York City. Could you just repeat for us, what do you recall about each meeting, maybe starting with your office in Harlem?
I just remember that sometime in 2002, I think, he paid a visit, and he had become.
Come on, man.
I think it was either after or just before we started the flights. But he obviously was going to be a serious supporter of the foundation, and I think he paid a visit. I was flattered he wanted to see my office. I liked it.
And then the meeting at his home in New York City, did I hear you say in the previous hour that Mr. Epstein was not actually there?
I said that when I wrote my book and talked about it, and when I've talked about it in the past, I realized I talked as if he were there, and of course he was there. And I started trying to picture the nice man on the staff that showed me around.
Come on, man.
And now I'm just being honest, I don't remember whether he was there or not. He could have been there, but I don't remember.
As far as you can recall, would the purpose of that meeting also have been related to Mr. Epstein's support of your work through his plane, for example?
Yeah, the reason we went by, regardless of who was there, was that my staff we finished an event in New York City that had a place, and Lord knows how many I've done since then. I don't remember what it was for, but it was in New York City. And my staff, they said, we're only a couple of blocks from Epstein's house. It's a converted elementary school. He's very proud of it. And I think, it'd be a nice thing to do since it's early. You could just go by and take a look at it. So that's what we did.
Do you recall seeing anything or anyone in his home that was suspicious or reflected abnormally young women or girls?
No, the only people I saw there that night were staff. And him if he was there. I just don't remember.
Do you recall seeing any images of young girls or women at Epstein's home?
No.
So moving to some of the travel on Mr. Epstein's plane, and we have specific dates for a lot of that. I'd like to move through that chronology of known trips, just one at a time in order. To begin, flight logs indicate that on February 9th of 2002, and we'll give you the logs, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from Miami to Westchester County, New York, with Epstein, Maxwell, and some others. And you mentioned this flight in the previous round as well. I will introduce that flight log as Minority Exhibit D. And we'll give you a moment to receive that and take a look at it.
Is this one page?
It is one page, exactly. And the flight in question, the leftmost column has the number 9 on it, and you can see your name at the beginning in one of the middle columns.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
at the top, it says 15. Are you talking about a date? Could you just?
Yeah, the one on February 9th.
Thank you.
Sure.
This one.
Yeah, I do see it.
Great. I'll just ask some specific questions. As an initial question, and we can see it here, you had a Secret Service detail that traveled with you after you left office, presumably still does. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And did that detail accompany you on all trips that you took with Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
For this trip from Miami to Westchester, first, just do you recall the circumstances of the trip?
No, I was down there and I was coming home. I don't remember why I was down there.
In terms of who was present on the flight, and we'll do this exercise with the other trips as well, are you able to make out from the initials here, maybe who is who? In other words, I can see your name, and I can see 4 Secret Service. And then from there, we have 2 males, 1 female, I think Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, and then SK and AP. Do you have any recollection of who any of those folks may have been?
No. I just don't remember, I'm sorry, I don't. And the initials, they don't mean anything to me.
This isn't a record from yours, this is their record.
Yeah.
In February in 2002, so the same month as this flight, it was reported that you and Ms. Maxwell were seated together at some type of charity gala in New York. I don't know what the charity was or where exactly the event occurred. Do you have any recollection of what I'm referring to?
Could you state the date again, sir?
In the same month, February 2002, and I don't have an exact date.
What was it reported?
Simply that you and Ms. Maxwell were seated together at a charity gala in New York.
Wow. I have no recollection of it, but it could have happened.
Heading into March of 2002, so the following month, we have a series of international travel, and the first of those trips indicates that on March 19th and 21st of 2002, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from JFK to London and back with Mr. Epstein, Ms. Maxwell, and some others. We will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit E and go through the same exercise.
Thank you.
And that's the 19th and the 21st.
The 19th and the 21st?
Yes. Down toward the bottom of the page.
Oh, hold on, scribble.
Was this a flight to London?
Yes.
Yeah, this says we had 10 Secret Service agents.
So I guess just to start with, do you recall the circumstances or the reason for this trip?
And this was when?
This was March of 2002.
I don't, but keep in mind, there was a lot of stuff going on. India, in the late January, 4 days after I left office, had a horrible earthquake. And lots of people died. And I called the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Vajpayee, who belongs to the current leader's party, but was much less uber nationalist. And I asked him if I could help. And he said yes. He said, I have the money and organization to fix the big cities, but not the smaller towns. And we need schools, we need hospitals, we need all the stuff rebuilt. Will you help? So that's the first thing I undertook to do, even before the AIDS thing, after I left the White House. So I was there. So by March of 2002, the next year, we were still working on that, and then the South Asian tsunami hit in December. So I was doing all this stuff and also trying to get set up at home too. So that's why it sounds unusual for me to have 10 Secret Service agents, but I must have been going to several stops.
And is it the same for you when you look at some of these names? I can make out the name Naomi Campbell. Do you have any recollection of Naomi Campbell being on this flight?
Naomi, when we went to Europe once, I think she went on one. She was a friend of Doug's, and that's what I remember. Let me see. Yep. And Jeffrey Ghislaine. I don't know who the other people are.
Looks like Doug Band is listed there, and that.
Yeah, he's there, but SK, I don't know who that is.
Okay, great. Thank you. Moving to May of 2002, just 2 months after the one we just looked at, flight logs show a series of flights around Asia. Got 5 flights, including Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and Thailand. I'll introduce the flight logs for that trip. Just take a look at it together as Minority Exhibit F. still need it, right?
We do need it. Thank you. Oh, great. Thank you very much. You said
So
what?
those are from the 22nd to the 25th.
Let me just highlight that for a second. 22nd. And you're saying each one till the 25th?
Yeah, so the first one lists the former president, and then 4 in a row after that lists same as above. So it's the same group.
We are at 1.2x right now. Do y'all think we would be cool to go to like 1.25 or 1.3? Yes. 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 Yep. Okay. We'll try 1.3, and then if we can go higher, we'll go higher.
Group of folks for about 5 flights there. So same question, this trip to Asia, do you have a recollection of the circumstances, of how the trip came about?
Yeah, that was 2002, right?
Yes.
So
1.5?
And when was the tsunami? Was it at the end of 2002 or the end of 2001?
That I'm not sure of.
Just to the best of your memory, you have to share what you know.
Anyway, to the best of my memory, this was a trip to raise funds to organize our health network in Asia, which was basically designed to deal with AIDS, but also I was heavily involved in the reconstruction of India after the earthquake there. And was asked to do it by the Prime Minister and later by the UN. So I was involved with that.
And do you have any recollection of who these individuals on the flight were? For example, there are a few female names. I think one is Janice, one is Jessica. When you look at the log, do you have any recollection of who's who?
No. She may have been a flight attendant, I don't know.
Do you have any recollection of the flights themselves?
Of this particular flight?
This group of flights.
I remember we made several stops and you mentioned them. And we're going there, but that's all I remember.
To the best of your recollection, whether with respect to the flights or the trip itself, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
No.
We then have logs showing 2 flights in July of 2002, and I will introduce those as Minority Exhibit G. Give you a moment to receive those.
What was the prior one?
Prior one would have been F.
And that was the May 2002 flight log.
Where's F?
No, I put F on that, but I thought that was. Sorry, so you're.
No, no problem. It should be May 2002. I have as F as in Frank.
Okay, I'm not sure what this one was. Okay, got it. I'm gonna get the labels later.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. So this one will be G, and it's July of 2002, specifically on July 13th.
Oh, sorry. Next one. That's your presentation.
Thank you. Hold on.
I'll get that in the database.
I'll give you a moment.
Does this say where we're going?
Yeah, it's on the 13th, and these flights are from Morocco to Portugal, and then Portugal to JFK. And our understanding, just from public reporting, is that this may have been part of a trip to Morocco to attend the King of Morocco's wedding.
And you're asking him about the legs that he's on.
Correct, exactly.
So July of
Is that when his
2022.
wedding was?
Sorry?
Is that when he got married?
It may have been. I think that's my
July.
question for you, is whether you recall that this trip...
I recall going to his wedding.
Okay. Do you recall approximately when that wedding would have been?
No, but it was a long time ago. I don't know if this was it. But I did go to Morocco more than once.
Do you recall attending the King of Morocco's wedding?
Absolutely, I did.
Do you recall whether Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell also attended that wedding?
I don't. I remember, I think Chelsea went with me. And I remember because my late mother-in-law loved Morocco, and Chelsea was there with her once, and she wanted to go. So we went, and it was really nice. I was very close to the king's father, and I marched in his funeral when he died. And so they had this wedding, and we were invited, and I very much wanted to go. Hillary was working and didn't go. Chelsea did, and I think Huma was with us too.
There's been some reporting that you may have invited Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell to the King's wedding. It sounds like, but please you tell me, do you have any specific recollection of that?
I don't remember.
Do you have any specific recollection of these 2 flights, which may or may not have been part of the King's wedding? They're from Morocco to Portugal and Portugal to JFK. Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell were on the flights as well as yourself.
When I was coming home.
He's just asking you about these two legs, and he's asking you, do you have any recollection of these two legs of the flag?
No, I remember the wedding very well and all the stuff that happened. That's all. I don't remember the coming or the going.
Thank you. In September of that year, we have a trip that I think a lot of folks are aware of. This is a trip to Africa in September of 2002. The trip started at JFK, ended in London, stopped in Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, Mozambique, and South Africa. Some high-profile figures were on board, including actor Kevin Spacey and comedian Chris Tucker, as well as Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. I will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit H. I'll give you a moment to receive that.
Thank you. H. Thank you very much. H.
So this is a two-sided document, and the flights are the bottom half of the first page and one flight at the top of the second page.
Starting at the 21st?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Starting there.
I'll just ask you generally, before we look at the log specifically, what is your recollection of how this trip to Africa came about?
Well, this is where most of our work was going to be done. And what month is this?
This is, I believe, September of 2002.
So, and the countries we were going to represent places where we had operations. Like Mozambique, for example, had a big AIDS problem, and we were trying to help. And there was, so that's what I know. But in South Africa, we spent quite a bit of time because I wanted to go see Mandela. He was still in good shape then. And we did things together. And then Charlene Hunter-Galt, who was one of the black women that integrated the University of Georgia and became then a very well-known international television commentator for PBS. And her husband, Ron, had moved down to South Africa. And they were longtime friends of mine. We had celebrated the 150th birthday of Arkansas together in Little Rock. We were longtime friends. And so we went to visit them, and she threw a big cookout for us. And it was a funny time. Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey imitated me.
So a lot of these names on the logs are hard to make out. Do you have any specific recollection of who was on board those flights?
He's not asking you to review and try and see if you can read their names. He's asking you what your recollection is.
It says...
Not a big fan of the way he acted about Kevin Spacey. I mean, Kevin Spacey is a... Am I remembering wrong? Didn't he abuse a child? Is I don't know, a little weird. It was a funny flight. Allegedly, yeah. Convicted a woman, I think. No, it was a boy, and that was I remember that being like his defense, something like instead of him coming out and saying like, oh yes, this boy was underage, it was like a 17 or something, essay of an adult. Oh, were they an adult? Either way, like he said, all right, I'm coming out, I'm gay, and it's like, okay, that's not a child. Okay, apologies, Kevin Spacey, just regular sexual assault. Still, young adult. He was found not guilty. He made advances towards a male on the set. I mean, I didn't follow the case too much. The kid was like 17, 18. Yeah, that's what I remember. Either way, Bill and Kevin are extra tight. Are they? Well, just the regular essay is such a weird times we live in. Yeah. I mean, obviously you guys know that I recognize that essay is still bad. He was fired from a show. Yeah, he was. It kind of sucks because so I watched that show before I really knew how like the government was structured, right? Like I didn't know what a majority whip was or like how, the House, the committees and shit and lobbyists and like now that I know a lot more about that stuff, I want to rewatch the show, but I really don't because of Kevin Spacey. So it's and I'm like Kevin was a good, or Spacey was a good actor. Yeah, I always thought he would be like a dead ringer for Donzo if they ever did a live action Naruto. But do you think Epstein was using Bill Clinton? Probably. I mean, all rich people use politicians all the time, so that wouldn't be too big of a bridge. They were able to prove that the party he was accused at never occurred. Really? I would think that if he was like exonerated in that way, I would have heard about it. Too young for the West Wing. Yeah, I am probably too young for the West Wing. Although that's a show I probably should watch. That has Martin Sheen in it, right? A lot of other talented artists contributed time to that show too. That's fair. But he's facing more charges in 2026. Oh goodness. There's a lot of rumors about Spacey though. Okay, sorry. Let's keep playing.
Shante Davis was, and she worked for Jeffrey.
And I think it was discussed in the previous round, but that well-known photograph of yourself and Miss Davies, what is your recollection of the extent of your interactions with Miss Davies on that trip?
Where were we?
In Africa.
No, where was the photograph?
I think it was at the airport.
Oh.
On the way to.
That's it. I mean, we had a good relationship, but it was entirely profit. I never had any personal contact with her, if that's what you imply.
And am I right that while on that trip, whether the trip or the flights, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. We have a series of questions from some of the members in the minority, and so I'll be calling them up as we go through. Thank you. Just want to again thank you for being here and answering all the questions. We appreciate that and for your service. Just two clarifying questions. One that was asked during the Republican hour, and I just want to have you reiterate it for the record. Either during or after your presidency, were you ever made aware of Jeffrey Epstein having any kind of relationship, directly or indirectly, with a foreign intelligence agency or service? And I ask because we've received a lot of interest and communication about that topic, and so I want to give you a chance to answer that again if there's any.
No, I wasn't, and I understood why when you showed me the passport, but I wasn't. I didn't know anything about that.
Thank you. And then second, of course, this deposition also sets a pretty new precedent, I think, which is something that we've been discussing and folks across the country are discussing as well. We're thankful that you're here. We believe in the minority that President Trump should also answer this committee's questions. He's someone that is mentioned almost more than any other person beside Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein documents. And so to get more information for this investigation, was wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
That's for you to decide, but he did know him well, and I once had a brief discussion with him about it.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer. With that, I'm going to go to Mr. Walkinshaw, and we'll go down a series of questions.
I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. He just said we were friends, and then we had a falling out.
Really quick. So I have seen memes posted by the pedophile party saying that this quote exonerates President Trump. Like, first of all, y'all were never believing Bill Clinton about anything anyway, but now I guess he's a reliable resource, and this quote exonerates him. Okay, buddy.
Never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. He just said we were friends, and then we had a falling out over a land deal, property deal. That's all.
Thank you.
Could I ask very briefly, Mr. President,
Sure.
if you recall, what were the circumstances of that conversation, or at least let's start with when did the conversation occur?
It was on his golf course, and there were a couple of years there when Joe Torre, who had been the manager of the Yankees and was a friend, and had a tournament, a charity golf tournament, called appropriately for this investigation, the Safe at Home Foundation. And it was designed to combat domestic violence, of which Joe Torre had been a victim as a child. And so I wanted to support it. And so Donald Trump gave him the golf course in New York to have a tournament on, and I played in it a couple of times. And the day I was there, he would typically, Donald Trump would come out and play a few holes with us. And he somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal. And he said, I'm sorry it happened. That's all.
Do you recall whether President Trump was the first one to affirmatively bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, but I'd be shocked if I did. I just don't do that.
Do you recall whether President Trump elaborated at all on the great times that he had with Jeffrey Epstein?
No, and at the time, I didn't put any, sexual spin on it.
And as far as you recall, President Trump characterized the nature of the ending of their friendship as being solely due to the real estate.
That's what he said.
Thank you.
But I didn't think much about it at the time. And, it was 2 minutes and then we were gone.
As far as you recall, have you had any other conversations with President Trump related to Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
And your best recollection, if you have one, of the year that this conversation occurred?
Maybe 2002 or 2003.
Thank you.
But,
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I just want to focus again on Ghislaine Maxwell. First, I'll ask you just to reiterate, did you ever at any point during your interactions with Ms. Maxwell know about the sexual abuse she committed and facilitated against minors and women?
No.
When did you learn that she had engaged in crimes against girls and young women?
When the first evidence came out, within 2019.
Okay. And have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
You're aware that she was convicted of crimes, as we discussed, and you're aware that she's currently incarcerated as a result of her federal conviction.
Yes.
Maxwell received a 20-year sentence for her crimes. Are you aware that she has repeatedly called on President Trump to grant her clemency, and that she has said that you and President Trump are not guilty of any wrongdoing with respect to Epstein?
I know that now, yes.
In your opinion, does she deserve or should she be granted clemency by President Trump?
I don't think I should comment on that. I don't know anything about President Trump other than what I've already told. And I thought that was a mistake to pardon everybody in the January 6th case. And I think
that should have been an easy hell no. Like, just to be clear, I don't know if I agree with what someone in chat said. I am 100% sure Bill knows exactly how deep in Trump is. That's not necessarily true, or that's not. I don't know if I'm convinced that far, but the way he's speaking about this, it's clear he doesn't want to say certain things. Like, why would you not just say no? She shouldn't be granted clemency. Like, that was a slam dunk, easiest possible. His body language is telling sign he's lying. No, I'm not saying I trust him. I'm just saying I think that I haven't seen evidence enough to know that like they were like together and they know he knows everything Trump did and Trump knows everything he did and they're like patting each other's backs. But it is clear, especially based on how Trump was talking about it as well, that they're not really trying to implicate each other in any way. He's not committing to any strong opinions or recommendations. Yeah, but that's like an easy one. Like, should Ghislaine Maxwell be granted clemency? Hell no. That's easy. You didn't have to say anything about Trump to say that. If we know, he knows what Maxwell was convicted of, so yes, the answer should have been no. Right, exactly. Yeah.
But this thing was really hard for me when it came out because we had been friendly with Glenn. I was sad, but it was terrible what she did, and she has to be punished. Somebody besides me should make a decision on what it is. So she got 20 years, and there it is.
Okay. Mr. President, on July 24th, 2025, the Deputy Attorney General and President Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, conducted a closed-door interview of Ms. Maxwell at her then low-security prison. On August 1st, 2025, just a few days after that interview, she was transferred to a lower-security prison where she's afforded a list of amenities, personalized meals, playtime with puppies, a transfer that I think most Americans agree is inconsistent with a very serious crime she was convicted of. Do you have any opinion on her transfer to that lower-security prison and the amenities she's been granted? It seems strange to you when you learned of that.
I think you're in a better position to find out what happened than I am.
Okay. When you were President of the United States, was it common for your Deputy Attorney General to directly conduct interviews of witnesses and or federal inmates?
Was it? You were there.
You have to testify what you know,
He's
what you
asking,
recall.
he's
You
asking,
recall what
did
it
you ever
was.
send a deputy attorney general to?
To the best of my knowledge, I did not do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
May I ask a question? Representative Foster, you're still the youngest person in Congress?
Yes, I am, Mr. President.
Lucky you.
Hopefully that changes soon. If you're the youngest for too long, it's not good.
You know, come time, believe me. I was, for most of my life, the youngest person doing whatever I was doing. And one day I woke up, I was the oldest man in every room, and I couldn't tell you for the life of me how I got from one place to the other. Time will take care of it. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Thank you, thank you. It's a blessing to be the oldest person in the room as well. Mr. President, I just wanted to circle back to the conversation around the conversation you had with Jeffrey Epstein on the golf, or with Donald Trump on the golf course in New York. You know, President Trump has said publicly multiple times that his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was the result of him hiring away workers from Mar-a-Lago and his crimes. He said that's why he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. You brought up two questions about this. Did President Trump specifically characterize the result of this land dispute they had as a falling out specifically? To the best
Yeah, he said they both wanted the same piece of land. He didn't say what it was, and that's all I remember.
And he said it was a fall.
Really quick to remind everybody of what Trump said exactly.
Poached two of, just to button up on Mar-a-Lago, you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein poached two of your staffers. Who were they?
Yeah, I don't want to say two, or I don't want to say any number. You're talking about many years ago. But yeah, he took people, and because he took people, I say, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him.
Sorry, my YouTube's lagging. Give me 1 second. But yeah, he uses the phrase took and stole. Isn't this self-implicating? Yeah, so this, for me personally, this clip from 6 months ago, this alone was probably enough to show that he knew what was happening. Might not be enough to show that he participated. And frankly, other than how fucking creepy he is and his other crimes, there isn't, to my knowledge, any evidence I've seen that he participated. But that he knew and that he's covering it up, super clear. Super clear. I might have to end the live. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Exit page. Reload. Sorry.
Just to button up on Mar-a-Lago, you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein poached two of your staffers. Who were they?
Yeah, I don't want to say two, or I don't want to say any number. You're talking about many years ago. But yeah, he took people, and because he took people, I say, don't do it anymore. You know, they work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
Mr. President, Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them?
Were some of them young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were. Yes,
yeah.
What did they do?
Really quick to clarify. I guess what I meant was like a smoking gun in regards to, yeah, there is witness evidence and victim evidence, but that wouldn't be enough for conservatives. Frankly, nothing would be enough for conservatives. But like this stuff, and especially like the cover-up stuff, that's like not deniable. It's very clear. It's not a he said, she said. It's literally admitted by Trump multiple times. It's admitted by his administration, Pambani, Kash Patel, like multiple times. Like it's that's what I meant. Not that there's no evidence, just as there's no irrefutable evidence.
In the spa.
In the spa.
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain.
Why did he say, in other words, gone? Who needed those other words?
And this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those...
To be clear, remember earlier when there was somebody in here defending Trump, and they mentioned that like Trump called the authorities to thank them for investigating. Well, they said to snitch on Epstein, but it was actually to thank them for investigating Epstein after he was already being investigated, and that was like that. Oh, look, he called. If Trump was actually doing the right thing, he would have called here. This would be where he called when Jeffrey Epstein was stealing, his words, not mine, young girls from his spa. He reported after the investigation started. Yes, exactly. Which is meaningless. Like that is meaningless. In fact, that's what you would do if you were also guilty and you wanted to make it look like you're not.
Stolen, person. Does that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah, he stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know, none whatsoever.
So Virginia Giuffre, I think is how you pronounce that name. I could be wrong. He just said that Epstein stole her. He changes what he says about her mid-sentence. Yeah. I mean, it's like he's coming up with his story mid-sentence, genuinely. So I don't know how this is 1 minute 55 seconds from 6 months ago. I don't know how this isn't all over the news constantly. It's just mind-boggling. Anyway, just for some context about what they're talking about here.
Letter.
Oh, sorry, not that one.
Falling out as a result of that?
Yeah, said it strained their relationship.
Do you know when this conversation happened?
When the conversation I had with him happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it had to be in 2002 or 2003, I think.
2002 to 2003. All right, thank you. During any of your interactions with Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, did either of them ever mention or discuss their relationships or connections with Howard Lutnick?
No.
What about their relationship or connection with Alex Acosta?
No.
Prior to Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in 2019, did anyone ever speak with you about Epstein's relationship with Howard Lutnick?
No.
And what about Alex Acosta?
No.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
I'm Melanie Stansbury. I represent New Mexico's 1st Congressional District, and it's an honor to have you and your council here. This is a very important investigation, and we obviously have a lot of questions. And for me personally, this case is all about justice for the victims. And I really appreciated in your opening statements, your statement about nobody being above the law, including a president. And I think it's important that we are setting the precedent for Congress establishing oversight and subpoena power over a president. And I believe Donald Trump should and will ultimately be in front of this body. And I also appreciate what you said about women and girls who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein deserving justice and healing. And that's where I'd like to focus my questions. And in particular, I want to focus on 3 survivors who have shared stories that involve you. So I want to begin with Maria Farmer. Do you know who Maria Farmer is? Maria Farmer was employed by Jeffrey Epstein and abused by him for a number of years. And she first reported her abuse to the New York PD and FBI in 1996. And she states that she has personal knowledge that you visited Jeffrey Epstein's house 3 to 4 times while you were the sitting president between 1995 and 1996. And she says she knows this based on photographs that Ghislaine Maxwell showed to her, as well as discussions with the staff. So let me ask you, Mr. President, did you visit Jeffrey Epstein's house while you were president?
I do not remember doing that. I do not believe I did.
How do you explain this discrepancy?
Objection calls for him to speculate.
I can't speculate. But all I can tell you is I don't remember being there.
Okay. Moving on to Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Are you familiar with her?
Mm-hmm.
As has already been established, she has stated in numerous sworn statements, including a sworn deposition in the Maxwell trial, that she saw you on the island with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, this morning, her family shared her diary with me. And in it is a quote wherein she writes, quote, Bill Clinton met 2 times island with 2 girls, CT, G, M, and JE. What is your reaction to that?
It's not true.
Do you have any dates associated with that? Were there dates on the diary?
I don't have that information, but we'll be happy to share it with you.
Would be terrific, because I think there are also records that would reflect where else he would have been. So thanks.
Did she say that in her book?
This is from her personal diary that her family shared with us.
Yes, but the book came out more recently. Did she say that in the book?
I'm just reading you the entry from her diary that her family shared with me.
I think she ultimately reached a different conclusion, although I had no contact with her.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that it's on the record that that is Virginia Giuffre's statement. Did you ever fly in a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Ever, anywhere? I have no idea.
Okay, well, at least one of the survivors claims that you flew in a helicopter with Ghislaine.
Sorry, YouTube and Twitch. Okay, I'll say it again really quickly. I believe the victims, and I do think that he's lying. Now, again, in that statement from Virginia, she wasn't accusing him of committing a crime, but she did say that he was there, and I believe her. Now, the other thing I was going to point out was that remember earlier when I said I think it would be really weird and I would disagree with Democrats if all they were asking him about was Trump and they didn't actually like ask him any questions. So far, the Democrats have been asking him questions and tough ones, especially from the current person. And it really goes to show the difference in the two parties, where you have one party doesn't even show up to the questioning of Les Wexner, who is listed in the Epstein files as a co-conspirator. Like literally, he's in a worse position than Bill Clinton. They didn't even show up. And then you have Democrats, for a former Democratic president, are asking him questions that, if you ask Trump these questions, he literally would just explode. He'd be like, that's such a nasty question. You have Trump derangement syndrome. You can't talk to a president like that, right? They're asking him questions that could potentially implicate him in heinous crimes. As they should. And I just want to point out the discrepancy here. I want to point out the discrepancy.
Maxwell to the island.
Did you ever?
Then I did not do that. I've never been to that island.
Okay. The third person I want to talk about briefly is Shantae Davies. I know we've already mentioned her here today. I know you've already mentioned that she was listed as a flight attendant on the trip to South Africa in 2002 that you took with Jeffrey Epstein. Are you aware that Shantae Davies is a survivor who claims she was abused for 3 years, including during that time period?
I am now.
And are you aware that Jeffrey Epstein recruited his victims through calling them masseuses?
No.
You're not aware that Jeffrey...
But it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I didn't know that, no.
Knowing that Jeffrey Epstein recruited hundreds of minors as masseuses to massage him, and knowing that this victim, who was a survivor 3 years of his sexual abuse as a masseuse, was on the plane, does that make you think about the massage you received from her differently?
Can I just interrupt? You're saying knowing, you know that. He was saying that he was unaware that that's how Mr. Epstein was recruiting his individuals.
I'm asking if today, hearing this...
You seen the picture?
I have a copy of it right here, yes.
Well, I'm sitting up and
I'm just asking if now that you know that Jeffrey Epstein recruited girls as masseuses, does that reframe that photograph and knowing that there were girls on the plane that were being abused?
Objection. It states facts not in the record. You can ask this witness what he thinks or remembers about anything that happened, but I don't think it's right to ask him to speculate.
She wants to know if I feel bad about it, yes.
I'm not, I think
Don't you?
what I'm trying to get at is that there is a culture that surrounded Jeffrey Epstein in which rich and powerful people saw young women that were survivors who were being abused and didn't say anything and didn't do anything.
So is your
part
question-
of what I'm, hold on, part of what I'm trying to do is to ask you, we know there was a survivor that was on the plane. You've stated that you didn't know she was a survivor. I understand that. But I'm asking now that you are aware that Epstein was recruiting survivors as masseuses, does this make you rethink what you saw as you were traveling and interacting with him?
So he has already spoken to.
I like-
Wait a minute. I want to make sure that you are clearly answering her question. He's already stated what he saw and what he knew. And so what you're now asking him is, given what you've now shared with him, does he think any differently about what he saw and what he knew? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I wish Shantae had told me. I liked her. But I didn't think it was anything unusual. I can't tell you how many airplanes I've been on where rich people asked me to go and they had someone offering massage. You know, all these boats that you go on and all that, they all do that. And usually I don't do that. I'm not into this.
Well, that certainly raises some other questions about people offering free massages on boats, et cetera. But I do want to enter a couple of exhibits into the record, and I know council is prepared to pass them out. And while that is occurring, we're going to introduce this exhibit. What is it? Exhibit I. It'll be Minority Exhibit I, which is a FBI PowerPoint that was included in the files that were released as part of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And then I would like to introduce this exhibit, which is Exhibit J, which is a internal correspondence emails between the FBI. And though I'm short on time, what I'll describe in both these exhibits is that your name appears in FBI tip sheets as having attended parties in Jeffrey Epstein's presence in which sexual activities were occurring. Did you ever attend a party of any kind or an event with Jeffrey Epstein in which sexual activities were occurring? Okay. And then finally, there will be many millions of people that watch this deposition. What would you like to say to the survivors directly?
That I hope this will produce a sense of finality. And I don't think that'll happen until the government starts holding on to all the records. I think that, the records should be released. And then I think that we need to come up with strategies to help people who can't get over this get better. And the most important thing we do, I think, besides treat the victims right, is increase the guard.
Did I just hear him say, for people that can't get over this?
Guardrails we do to help people who can't get over this get better. And the most important thing we do, I think, besides treat the victims right, is increase the guardrails that will set off alarm systems and stop other people from doing the same thing Epstein did.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you.
We had an additional member join us in the interim. Did that member just identify themselves?
Absolutely. Hello, Mr. President. My name is Nick Langford. I represent New York's 23rd Congressional District, Buffalo Suburbs, Borough Southern Tier. Thank you for being here today.
Can you just, for the record, the time check?
We've got about 5 minutes left in this round.
Thank you so much.
I think it's fine. Congressman, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here and for your time today. Thank you for your service. We have, as you know, in the files that were released, there were several photos, included you, and we have an exhibit here. There's just one of the photos. And Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
And we'll have that passed around. And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember this photo and any details you may be able to provide us about it. So do you recall the details of this photo, recall the photo being taken?
No, I don't think I ever knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot tub. There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this taken, I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night on a trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
He said we, is it?
So I can't speak for sexual assault victims, but phrasing it as for people who can't get over this implies that it's something you can get over. And to my knowledge, sexual assault, particularly to the extent of what Epstein was facilitating, is not something you get over. That's my interpretation of it anyway. He said he hopes they get better. Yeah. So, okay. Him saying he hopes they get better doesn't like change that first part of the sentence. Like at best, you can say he chose his words poorly, but that's like a very hurtful way to choose those words. The hope they get better downplay what he said. Like if he had said something along the lines of for those that are still living with this, extremely harmful saying what he said. He may have been referring to politicians who can't get over it, not necessarily victims. You can go back.
Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this pic, and I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw
As
it,
a victim, I
they would
understand what he's
feel
trying to
it's
say.
Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
And we'll have that passed around. And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether. And we have an exhibit here. That's just one of the photos. And Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
And we'll have
I'm
that
sorry.
passed around.
I think I want to reload the YouTube
Just for the
because it's
record,
lagging
context.
so
We've got
bad.
about 5 minutes left in this round.
Thank you so much.
I think it's fine. Congressman, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here and for your time today. And thank you for your service. We have
We're
the
okay.
files that were released. there were
We're at
several
like
photos.
2:15. We're at 2:15. Just give me a sec. Hopefully this helps.
And I'm almost sure that this pic, and I think there's
Mr. President, thank you for being here and for your time.
and representing your systems and stop other people from doing the same. Most important thing we do. Can't get over this. And I don't think that'll happen until the government starts holding on to all the records. I think that, the records should be released. And then I think that we need to come up with strategies to help people who can't get over this get better.
He's 100% talking about the victims. 100%. He's not talking about the politicians. Did we already play the Hillary part? No, we didn't. I think he chose his words very poorly. Extremely poorly. Like, that's understandable that he won't say everything correctly, but if he really cares, he'd understand.
And the most important thing we do, I think.
Okay, so then they asked him about the picture.
I think it's fine. Congressman, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here and for your time today. And thank you for your service. We have, as you know, in the files that were released, there were several photos, included you. And we have an exhibit here. That's just one of the photos. And Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
And we'll have that passed around. And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember this photo and any details you may be able to provide us about it. So do you recall the details of this photo or recall the photo being taken?
No, I don't think I ever knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot tub. There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this pic, and I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night on a trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
You said we. Who is that including?
Well, my TEL team that was working on the AIDS issue, and Mr. Epstein was there, and Ms. Maxwell. But anyway, we got to the end of the flight was Brunei. It's a tiny place, but a very wealthy one. And the Sultan of Brunei was a man that I had gotten to know well in my 8 years as president. And his first involvement with international matters was basically to join the Asian Pacific Economic Leaders Conference, which I started and which he attended. And then he was very proud of that. And he hosted his time came to host it. You know, you do these things in rotation. And it came at either at the very end of my term or maybe the next year. Anyway, he wanted, when he knew I was coming, and he said he wanted to help me with my AIDS initiative, and he invited me to stay there. And he said, I want you to stay at this hotel, and I hope you'll use the pool. So I did. And then I got out and went to bed, exhausted.
Just for the record, there's another picture that also shows this as part of the larger pool area. Do you all have that so that he can refresh his recollection with respect to that?
You should have it.
I think I have to disagree. That is a phrase that would be totally acceptable in the 1980s and 90s. It's not a matter of an interchangeable phrase that's no longer acceptable. The intent of that phrase is minimizing of the trauma from sexual assault. Now, you can say that he didn't intend harm, and maybe that's true. I don't know. You don't know. But it's the phrase itself back in the 80s and 90s was used in that way. Like even if you want to say that it was acceptable, yeah, it was acceptable because they wanted to minimize sexual assault. Impact is greater than intent. Yeah, of course. But like, what I'm not trying to. I'm arguing with the comments that are saying that there's no harm from that, right? The question of whether or not like he intended it or not is irrelevant because, like you said, impact is greater than intent. But like, there's some people in the comments that are arguing on the impact, and that's what I'm really pushing back on. In the grand scheme, it's minimal. Look at how we are being treated daily. That's fair, but I don't think we should hold ourselves to lower standards because of all the horrible stuff going on. That seems so strange to me. Nobody said there wasn't harm. That's okay. Well, somebody said at least two people said there wasn't harm. What do you mean? I'm not saying you were one of them, but at least two people said that. To me, it's not truly empathizing with them, but knowing he should / wanting to appear that he does. It just increases rhetoric about this from the right. I agree, but we have no choice but to become jaded. And that's totally fair. So Miss Janie, I am definitely sympathetic to not giving the right fuel. But this is a situation where I'm speaking to. I imagine that most of the people that are watching here, this isn't like during a debate. This is people that are on my side, and I would like to think that the people that are on my side recognize what's wrong with that statement. I mean, we can disagree, of course, but like, I'm not going to never criticize a Democrat because Republicans will use it again. In fact, it doesn't even matter. What is even the point? No matter what happens, Republicans are just gonna make shit up, right? Like they called Obama a communist for 8 years. The hypocrisy is so real here, to be honest. I don't know what I'm missing. Social approach. What is the hypocrisy you're referring to? You started by saying you can't speak for survivors, yet you're speaking for us, Dan. That's fair. That's a good point. If a survivor wants to come up and speak on it, then that's totally understandable. Us discussing this together isn't an overall condemnation of him or us indicating his guilt, in my opinion. I agree with that as well. I also agree with that. I already said my piece in the chat. I don't see anything you said other than the the speaking about. You don't have to be inspired to speak on something. MAGA couldn't even understand why what he said is problematic. Nobody has to give the right fuel. They'll manufacture their own anyway. Yeah, exactly. Consider how Trump would respond to the same thing. Look further back. It either got filtered or I can't find it. You could just say it again if you want me to see it. I'm sorry. Okay, consider how Trump would respond to the same thing. 1,000,000%. We're preaching to the choir on that. But that doesn't, like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what the... Both things can be true. We can criticize them both for their responses falling short. As an old lady suffering with PTSD 60 years later, I don't disagree that it's harmful or dismissive. Finish the deposition. Hi, welcome up.
Hi, Dan. So I would love for another survivor to come up and speak as well, but I can tell you that for myself, it is definitely dismissive. And sadly, the harm is minimized at this point. It's as if you think about if you're being, say, abused. On some days when you get the crap beat out of you, that's a bad day. Another day, if you just get kicked or shoved, it's really not so bad anymore. That's looked at as a better day. These things, after a certain point in time, especially in this climate that we're in right now, the things that we hear and see and the way that we're treated and minimized and abused on a daily basis by the people in power, this is just like, yeah, it's not right, but it doesn't feel harmful. It doesn't, because it's just become the norm, and it's terrible. It's not that the bar is low. It's that it's the norm now.
I totally get that. Yeah, it's like to the point where, like, if every day we're dialed up to like an 8, a statement like this feels like a 1 or a 2. It doesn't mean it's not harmful, but
exactly. Yeah, so I just wanted to put that up. That's just my, we're growing this thicker skin and having to become jaded because we're seeing it every single day. And this is, yeah, like you said, so we're used to seeing the worst and the worst and the worst. So this is like, yeah, it's bad, but that's how it feels to me.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you coming up to speak on it.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
I had to get out of bed. Sorry, Dan.
No, you're good.
I was being funny because I actually got up out of bed to come outside to speak on this for a sec. Yeah, I don't disagree at all with what like the last person said. Like, there's levels, right? But I also think that it's wrong of us to ignore, I'll use her metaphor, it's wrong of us to ignore the days with the shoves and the kicks just because the other day we were completely beat down. Like, all of it needs to be called out. And it doesn't matter what's next to their name on a ballot. It all needs to be called out. And I don't know why this got so sidetracked over people saying that, like, this ultimately comes down to the way that it impacted the people that heard it, right? So for those of us that it did bother us, that felt dismissive, we're not wrong in our feelings. And those of us, or the other people that, like, didn't really see it as that bad, your feelings aren't necessarily wrong either. But, like, you can't take away the people that do feel like that impact mattered. I felt like it mattered. I felt like it was very dismissive. That was really upsetting to me, that he just, like, people that can't get over it. What do you mean? I'm 32. I was raped when I was 17. I'm not over it. I'm not going to get over it. Like, this stuff doesn't go away for us. We have a life sentence of trauma from these events. You don't get over it. But that's my 2 cents. You just asked people to come up for a second, so that's what I wanted to say. And also, I don't believe so much of what he's saying, and it's making me upset. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for letting us collectively share in this trauma together of watching this deposition, Dan.
You're welcome. I don't know how to respond to that, but yeah. Kid, thank
You're
you so
good.
much for coming up. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You have a good night, friend.
You too. Okay. I'm gonna this is what I'll do. I'm gonna apologize for I guess speaking out of both sides of my mouth there. Saying that I wasn't gonna speak for survivors and then speaking so extensively on it is a bit hypocritical, and I do apologize. That said, I'm I guess more so apologize for not I stand by speaking on it. I just I think I maybe should have said something along the lines of, like, I'm not an SA survivor, so I can't so I'm not speaking from a position of experience, but this is how I interpreted it and why I believe it would be harmful to SA survivors. That's what I should have said first, rather than what I said. With the way society continues to judge and ostracize people living with MH is so palpable, it's exhausting. MH? Sorry. Hi, welcome up.
Hi, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, got you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wasn't trying to be a jerk when I said that, you were talking for SA survivors when you said you weren't. I was trying to get you to see that wasn't a good place for you to be. Because I listened to you. I've listened to you since you first started, and you are a very genuine person. And it really struck me when you said that, and then you just started talking about it like it was yours to talk about, which it is. But when you say it's not, and then you do it, it's just incongruous, and that's not what I see you as. So it kind of disturbed me. So I appreciate the apology, and I certainly don't hold it against you in any way, shape, or form. But I do just want to say that I am no fan of Bill Clinton. I haven't been since I found out about Monica Lewinsky. She was a kid. I mean, she was an adult, but she was still a kid, and he had all that power, and he used it. And it wouldn't surprise me if something showed up So I'm not here to defend him, but what I can say is I was trafficked for 2 years. Okay. And this was a long time ago. I'm 60 now. Okay. And no, you don't get over it, but you can get through it unless you don't have the help you need. And Virginia tried and she couldn't get there. She couldn't get through it. So he may not have meant what you're taking it as, because I think it's clear that her death has done a lot to a lot of people, and especially in the survivor community. And we all know exactly why she did what she did. We've all felt those feelings. And I know that I don't know. I don't want to just assume that he meant, get over it. I think what he meant was we don't want to see what we saw with Virginia. I don't know that even I can articulate it, but he being being a person from the generation that he's from, I can tell you that my father would use words like that. And he loved me to death. So I just think, we got to be careful not to just pick out one thing. I think we need to look for patterns in this. And, you can write a check mark next to this if you want to, but this compared to what we're talking about, this little thing that he said means nothing to me, because what we're talking about is so much bigger than that. And he did say we need to get people help. And I think he believes that. I do. I don't know if it's because of a guilty conscience or not. But, he's proven to be disgusting. So I can't really, it's disturbing, but I just don't want to get stuck in the weeds of, he said this one thing and this is a soundbite kind of a thing. No, let's pay attention. Pay attention to all of this, because this is really important. And we need to know. We've got to change this somehow. We need to know. So that's all. I'm sorry for taking so long. I apologize.
No,
but I really do
you're totally
appreciate
fine.
you. And I just want you to know that, I really wasn't trying to cause any kind of angst. You're a great guy. I can tell. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you so much for coming up. And I do agree. Actually, I think this is something I was thinking about, and you articulated it, which is something like this on its own isn't damning, but it could be in a pattern of minimization, or I guess the word I'm looking for here, delegitimization of experiences like that. I think that's totally fair, and I 100% agree. Thank you so much for coming up.
Bye.
I think before I press play again, just 30 seconds to yap. I think a lot of times, and I've even found myself getting in this pattern. A lot of times, because of how publicized this whole thing is with Epstein, the files and the list and the co-conspirators and everything, and we're all going through it, and there's the Republicans are trying to block it, and a lot of times we speak on it as if it's like this abstract, this political thing. There are real people involved. the survivors and those who are no longer survivors, those who are no longer with us. And did you not get restricted while showing this? I got taken down before. I got a 10-minute gifting restriction, but I didn't get any anything beyond that. But yeah, we start like forgetting, like, I guess how serious this stuff is. And it sucks, right? But I've been noticing that more and more. Now, again, when I say things like this, I'm speaking to people on the left. Like yeah, when you hear this, like, well, obviously, because the right literally elected a sexual assaulter, they don't care. So I'm not talking to everybody. I'm talking to the people on the left. Anyway. So that's I just wanted to get that out before we continue, because like as we just saw, we had 3 survivors come up, and again, this, like, something like that, I think, as we saw, there was differing effects on different survivors, and that's okay. Everyone has a different lived experience. So anyway, thank you all for being here. We're gonna keep going.
It's quite enlightening if you watch this.
Yes, it's noted.
It'll
Yes.
give you a different feel.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't have it with us right now.
Okay,
We do.
thanks. I just wanted to make sure he knew the
And so
context.
were there other people in that pool or hot tub with you as well?
I don't think there was anybody in the hot tub. I didn't forgotten that there was anybody in the hot tub, but it was big, but it was about.
Well,
He's asking you in the pool
it appears
area.
this photo, there's a girl over here. Is there someone?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
But he's also asking in the pool area whether other
Yes,
individuals.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so you don't know?
No, and then there were other people in the pool.
Okay, so do you remember were they under 18? Would you
No.
know? No.
Were they part of your traveling party? He's asking you.
Yes, they were, I think. I think everybody there was part of our party. It was late at night and late-ish, and I also believe that there was a Secret Service agent there at the other end of the pool.
Okay, and was this in public?
No, it was a hotel room, and the Sultan wanted us to stay there, and the water, this big pool, was on the same floor, that there were several suites, and so we went out, I swam around, I sat in the hot tub for 5 minutes, or whatever it was, and I got up and went to bed.
And then I have to ask this, did you engage in any sexual activity with this person? Okay, thank you.
Okay. And that ends this round, and we can go off the record.
You know what? It's 5 a.m. We just got to the end of a round. I think maybe we call it for the night. I really want to go to bed. Mac went to bed like 20 minutes ago, and she's waiting for me. She might have already fell asleep, but yeah, I say we call it for the night. And maybe we'll pick it up tomorrow. I was thinking about covering the primaries tomorrow, the Texas primaries. Honestly, I'm super interested in watching both the Republican and the Democratic side. As of right now, based on polling, the Democratic side looks really tight. The Republican side also relatively tight, although Ken Paxton, I think, is leading. I think betting markets have Tallarico and Paxton as the most likely outcome, but we'll see. So we might cover that tomorrow. Maybe we'll finish this and cover that. I'm not sure. No promises. Tonight, not tomorrow, right? Oh, I haven't slept yet, so I'm talking about later today. Okay. Love you all. Have a good night.